just when Zhang Ju and Han Zixin walked rapidly out of the Yi family mansion. They saw Yi Mo standing at the door waiting for them. "Yi brother, you didn't go? Are you going to drive there with us, or?" Zhang Ju saw Yi Mo and asked curiously. From the bottom of his heart, he didn't want Yi Mo to fight Tan Jiao because Tan Jiao was already great heaven. That was a legendary state. No matter how strong Yi Mo was, he couldn't have reached that state at this age. But he couldn't say such words. As a martial artist, if you are challenged and you don't dare to face up to it, it would be very hard for the martial artist to progress. And he knew Yi Mo's character as well. Yi Mo smiled. "Zhang brother, I want to help you with your wounds. I was desperate to kill that old thing before and I forgot." Then, Yi Mo grabbed Zhang Ju's wrist and with his qi, in less than 10 minutes, all the wounds in Zhang Ju's body disappeared. Treating wounds with inner qi. Really? Yi Mo, what level are you at? Zhang Ju looked at Yi Mo in surprise. Han Zixin on the side also heard Zhang Ju's word and looked at Yi Mo in bewilderment. It said that the great heaven could use their qi to recover wounds. Was Yi Mo really great heaven? "I don't know what my current power is now, but we'll talk about this after I kill Tan Jiao, that old fart." Elder Han and Zhang Ju, thanks a lot this time. Yi Mo really didn't know what his power level was equivalent to, but he was really grateful for Zhang Ju's help. Although Zhang Ju's power level was too low and didn't do much, the fact he stood up for him made Yi Mo approve of him. Zhang Ju smiled embarrassingly and said, "I actually didn't do much. Elder Tan is too strong." Sigh. He thought about the decades of cultivation he has had. Compared to Tan Jiao, it was like a joke. He also felt quite disappointed. Yi Mo smiled plainly. "There's nothing great about that little power of his. Believe yourself. You can soon surpass him. Wait for me to come back. I'm going first." Yi Mo left Zhang Ju and Han Zixin and immediately stood on the flying sword. A few minutes later, he was already on top of Tuo Mountain. More than 10 minutes later, Tan Jiao appeared on the Tuo Mountain. He turned back and looked. It was empty. He then sneered. "I purposely went a little slow, but I still don't see a shadow of him. I overestimated you." But before he finished, his voice suddenly stopped as though a chicken getting its neck choked. This was because he saw Yi Mo standing on top of Tuo Mountain staring coldly at him. It was obvious that he had been here a long time. "You!" Tan Jiao was dumbfounded looking at Yi Mo. His previous exploding confidence wavered and his back felt a little cold. After he reached great heaven, his heart was exploding with confidence and felt like he stood at the pinnacle of the world. This made him unable to accept being challenged by a Xiaobei. So he was very angry at Yi Mo. But now he didn't even know when Yi Mo came. He took the shortest route but didn't even see Yi Mo go passing him. Even if Yi Mo took the car, it would be the same speed as him. And it wasn't easy going up here with a car. "When did you come?" Tan Jiao asked powerlessly. His voice was dry. He was suddenly thinking, did he do things right? Yi Mo sneered. "You talk a lot of rubbish. Hurry up and fight." Tan Jiao dumped that question aside and took out his whip again. "Even if you're faster than me. So what? Today, I'll show you what a true martial artist is." Then, Tan Jiao's whip carried wave-like patterns and covered the skies grinding towards Yi Mo. Yi Mo looked at Tan Jiao's whip and applauded. Although Tan Jiao was an enemy of him, this old guy's whip technique was really good. Before Tan Jiao, the strongest whip master he had seen was Xian Daoist, but compared to Tan Jiao, that was child's play. After Tan Jiao's whip came out, it turned into lines of waves and appeared ethereal. There wasn't even the sound of it gashing through the air, but the infiltrating killing intent rolled over like a wave. Yi Mo sighed. If he was still stage 3 now, even at the peak, he would have to run as far as he could from this Tan Jiao. The difference between great heaven and earth level was too great. The difference was greater than earth and black level. Yi Mo was sure that if his stage 4 wasn't much stronger than his previous stage 4, he really wouldn't be able to do anything to this Tan Jiao, even if he had a flying sword. But now, in Yi Mo's eyes, Tan Jiao was at most a little troublesome. A purple ray flashed and Tan Jiao's whip was blocked by Yi Mo's flying sword. The clash of the weapons made a screeching sound. The whip that was already in a ripple-like state formed solid again. Dang! The whip was slashed away by the flying sword, and Tan Jiao also took a few steps back. Tan Jiao was shocked by lightning in his heart. People could only dodge his shadowless whip. No one knew where his whip would strike nor where it was. But Emo not only could know but also struck his whip away. Even his hand was hurting from the shock. Tan Jiao looked at his whip and dazed. He soon found something that was even more unbelievable. His whip was full of chips. His whip was actually damaged. His whip was made from a rare ore, which even he didn't know what was, with the tendon of a dragon snake in the deep sea. It said that dragon snake would turn into a real dragon in some more years. Although this was a legend, but it was indeed a dragon snake tendon. So he loved this whip like his life. But in that one bout, his whip was full of scars. Although they weren't deep, it was enough to hurt his heart. Then, Tan Jiao realized a terrifying fact. Just then, Emo didn't seem to grab his sword with his hand. Could he really control his sword? This was something amongst the legends. Could Emo do that as well? But soon, the hatred of his damaged whip stopped him from thinking again. He looked at Emo with insatiable rage. How dare he damage his whip? Emo looked expressionlessly at Tan Jiao, but his mind was focused on Tan Jiao's whip. He was sure that whip was made from the best materials. He used his chi essence and his flying sword, but he couldn't even break the whip. He only made a few shallow marks on it. Emo sneered and sent out his flying sword again. His speed was more than twice as fast as it was during stage 3. Tan Jiao just saw a slab of purple, and that purple dashed towards his throat. Tan Jiao suddenly fell into an ice cave and woke up. It was a flying sword. It really was a flying sword. Emo could control sword telepathically to kill people. He was actually at such a state. Emo didn't even dare to think anymore. His whip quickly whipped out and clashed with Emo's flying sword. He was sent back again and again by the sheer force of the flying sword. But Emo's flying sword was like it was alive and sliced towards Tan Jiao's neck at an absurd angle. Emo was going to behead Tan Jiao. Under such shock, Tan Jiao no longer dared to be beaten around passively. If this continued, he was going to lose his head sooner or later. He jumped up from the spot and didn't even care about the flying sword. He just whipped down on Emo's head. He wanted to use a kamikaze on Emo. Emo sneered, and in a spurring shadow, he flew up and disappeared tens of meters out. His flying sword carried a bloody mist, and it spun around before appearing on top of Emo's head. Rumble! Tan Jiao's whip smashed into the ground where Emo stood before. A mere meter-long whip actually smashed out a 10-meter-wide and 3-meter-deep ravine. But Tan Jiao's stomach had a deep gash slashed out by Emo's flying sword. If he didn't jump a little higher before, Emo's sword would have cut open his stomach. You like acting cocky, huh? Emo sneered again, and the flying sword above his head seemed to be getting bigger. At the same time, it tore apart the air, breaking the speed of sound, and smashed towards Tan Jiao. Tan Jiao saw this big purple mass smash towards him, and his heart immediately sunk to the bottom. He just realized that Emo wasn't even fighting with full power before. This Emo was too terrifying. He was not only not a match for him but far inferior to him. But no matter what Tan Jiao thought, Emo's flying sword slashed down like a huge door. Tan Jiao gathered all his chi and smashed his whip towards that purple mass. Bang rumble! Tan Jiao's whip was sliced apart and his body was smashed out more than 40 meters again by the huge explosion and flying rocks. Where he stood before was a 13-meter deep ravine decimated by Emo's flying sword. Tan Jiao fell down far away and smashed onto rubbles, constantly spitting blood. If his whip didn't block Emo's sword, he would have been a dead body now. Emo waved and the flying sword landed in his hand. He looked coldly at Tan Jiao and walked over slowly. He knew that also Great Heaven Master was not bad but was no match for him right now. But he also knew that this Tan Jiao wasn't someone strong amongst Great Heaven Masters. Perhaps he just reached Great Heaven. Seeing Emo walk over slowly, Tan Jiao's heart was like dead ashes. He didn't think that his Great Heaven power was no match for Emo. Although he hadn't consolidated his state yet, he had great confidence reaching such power level. In his eyes, other people were insects, but now, he realized who the insect was. He thought he could kill Yimo easily, but he didn't. Tan Jiao still couldn't believe that he had lost, and so utterly. He still felt that Yimo didn't fight at full power. What power state was Yimo at? He could control the sword with his will. Tan Jiao stared at the sword in Yimo's hand. For the first time, he felt regret. He didn't expect to be killed immediately as soon as he reached the peak of the world and by someone so young. He remembered Luan Qingfeng's words, "Don't insult a young man's poverty." Yimo didn't need to be insulted. He had already surpassed him. If he had some more time, probably even the inner hidden sect people would be no match for him. "Please have mercy." A gray figure quickly stopped in front of Tan Jiao. It was Luan Qingfeng. Although he stopped Yimo, his heart was ruptured with astonishment. He didn't expect that Tan Jiao was actually no match for Yimo. They even settled the score so quickly and he didn't even see the fight. Funny how he had thought about how to let Old Tan let Yimo go. Now, it wasn't if Old Tan would let Yimo go, but if Yimo would let Old Tan go. Yimo sneered, "Luan Qianbei, do you think I will let him go? He dares to kill my brother and sister, and I will have mercy on him? Tan bastard, you're lucky that I'm only killing you today. If I came back a little late and you touched Yiling and Zifeng, wherever you come from, I will erase that place to the ground." Tan Jiao shook. He knew that Yimo wasn't lying. He really had such power. If he died, that was it. But if Yimo also annihilated his home sect, then he would be the sinner of his sect. "Yimo, on account of me and Old Han, please let Old Tan go." These years, Old Tan did quite some things for the country. Luan Qingfeng knew that he must not let Yimo kill Tan Jiao. If Yimo did, then the conflict between the hidden sects and the country would erupt. After all, Old Tan was killed in the Heaven Squad and the person was the instructor of the Flying Snow. Plus, Tan Jiao reached Great Heaven State. This was significant for both the country and the hidden sects. If a Great Heaven Master was killed like this, it would be such a loss. Tan Jiao didn't speak. He was full of regret. He was a good friend of Gong Zizai. Years ago, Song Yuanyi gave him a strange or that allowed him to make his whip. Thus, he owed Song Yuanyi. Plus, he reached Great Heaven and he was arrogant, so he thought anyone who wasn't Great Heaven wasn't worth anything. But today, he finally realized that even reaching Great Heaven, he was only so-so. He was still someone whom Yimo could kill at any time. His extreme arrogance of reaching Great Heaven disappeared without a trace and his thinking became logical again. At least he could realize that if the He-Lu sect people didn't try to rob the blood coral from Yimo, how could they be killed by Yimo? It was all because he thought of Yimo as an insect before, and an insect was not worth of it for him to consider right or wrong. Yimo shook his head. "Sorry, Luan Qianbei, please move aside. I must kill this person." Luan Qingfeng suddenly took a step forward. "If you're going to kill Old Tan, then please kill me as well. If you let Old Tan go this time, I, Luan Qingfeng, swear to the heavens that as long as I'm in Beijing one day, I will make sure the Yi family is safe." Yimo was moved. He couldn't always stay at Beijing. Although he could annihilate the He-Lu sect, there were many people in the hidden sects. Who knows if some would hate him? If during the time he wasn't at Beijing something happened to Yiling and Zifeng, then he wouldn't even be able to regret. Plus, even if he could get revenge in the end, would the lost come back? But he really didn't want to let Tan Jiao go like that. Although he knew that his sword chi had entered Tan Jiao's dantian, making him unable to progress in the future at all. But even if he stayed where he was still a Great Heaven-level master. He was worried letting such a person stay in Beijing. Tan Jiao really didn't want to die like that. He just reached Great Heaven and didn't even have time to experience the joy and changes in Great Heaven, and he was going to die here. Now that Luan Qingfeng said something and Yimo seemed hesitant, he immediately had some hope. "Old Tan, it's just a misunderstanding between you and Yimo. You should apologize." Luan Qingfeng saw Yimo's concerns. He knew that Yimo offended too many people, and if he was outside, he would worry about his family members. Tan Jiao thought whatever. This was his only chance. He could no longer care about his face and immediately said, "I Tan Jiao swear that if I still live on today, I will not let the hidden sects people do as they please in Beijing. I will also support Qingfeng's idea. If I revoke this oath, let the heavens and earth perish me. Emo sneered. This old thing still wanted his face making an oath. He didn't say protect the Yi family but instead said protect Beijing and support Qingfeng. But Emo didn't point this out because he did some concerns indeed. It was simple for him to kill Tan Jiao now, but if he did, Luan Qingfeng would feel uncomfortable. If someone came to ravage the Yi family, he wouldn't do anything. Although Zhang Ju was not bad, he was still far inferior compared to the hidden sect masters. And he couldn't stay by Yi Ling and Zifeng all the time. Was he meant to send his brother and sister to the hidden sects as well? This wasn't realistic. Even if it was, since the hidden sect people could find them in Beijing, they could find Serenity as well. If he satisfied himself in the short-term killing Tan Jiao, it wasn't worth it. Thinking about Serenity, Emo immediately thought about Tang Beiwei. He should go see her soon. Emo, please believe old Tan and me. I'm sure that when you're not in Beijing, as long as I and old Tan are here, the Yi family would be perfectly fine. There definitely wouldn't be such thing happening again. Old Tan was just too impulsive after hearing his old friend being killed as soon as he left solitary training. Luan Qingfeng quickly supplemented. Emo looked coldly at Tan Jiao. Okay, since Qingfeng Qianbei said this, I'll stop here. But if something happens to my brother and sister again, then don't blame me. Although it was satisfying killing Tan Jiao now, Emo couldn't establish this satisfaction on the safety of his siblings. With two such masters sitting in Beijing, it was much better than him thinking about them all the time. And Tan Jiao was infused with his sword qi. He wouldn't help him resolve it. Tan Jiao's power would only decrease, not increase. Then Emo took a step out and disappeared without a trace. Of course, he did this purposefully to make Luan Qingfeng and Tan Jiao not dare to go back on their words. It was just an invisibility magic, and he stood on his flying sword and left. Luan Qingfeng and Tan Jiao looked at where Emo disappeared and opened their mouths wide open in shock. They couldn't say a word for a very long time. Did he surpass great heaven? I've never heard ancient martial arts have such means. This is too. Luan Qingfeng stuttered to find a word to describe Yemo's actions. Tan Jiao also looked dumbly at where Emo left. He finally understood that Emo didn't fight with him at full power at all. With the way Emo left, he was more certain that Emo had surpassed great heaven. Was he the being amongst the legends? Old Tan, let's talk when we go back. This Emo isn't simple. Luan Qingfeng sighed. Elder Tan, Elder Feng, are you here? Hasn't Emo come yet? Although Han Zixin's status was very high, he still needed to be polite in front of Tan Jiao and Luan Qingfeng. He and Zhang Ju just arrived. Luan Qingfeng smiled bitterly and said, Emo has come and gone. Han Zixin saw the two deep ravines on the ground and guessed that the two had already fought. He subconsciously said, Emo helped Zhang Ju treat his wounds and was put behind 10 minutes. I thought he wasn't here yet? I didn't expect him to have left already. What? You said Emo used 10 minutes to treat Zhang Ju before he came? Tan Jiao asked in surprise. Han Zixin nodded. Yes, he came after treating Zhang Ju. However, I didn't think we wouldn't make it since we drove immediately. Luckily nothing happened, otherwise the loss would be big. Tan Jiao was in even more disbelief. Emo started off 10 minutes later than him and still arrived before him. What did this mean? No matter power or speed, they weren't on the same level. Brother, you're back. Yiling walked into the yard and saw Emo come in. She immediately ran over and let out a long sigh of relief. She heard her grandpa say that the person who was fighting Emo was quite possible the legendary Heaven Squad. So, she was very worried, and when she saw Emo come back now, she finally felt relieved. Emo patted her head and said, Let's go see Zifeng. Zifeng ate the pill Yiling gave and was obviously recovering fast. He was very happy to see Emo. He heard a lot about Emo from Yiling. Emo helped check Zifeng's leg again. With the Lotus Life pill, there shouldn't be any problems. But because Zifeng wasn't a Qi cultivator, he needed a week to recover. Big brother, I wasn't able to help you much at Ninghai. Thank you this time. Yi Zifeng had always been nice to Yimo, and he knew that the only reason Yimo was willing to come back and help the Yi family this time was due to him and Yi Ling. He wasn't an idiot. He could also tell the reason Grandpa let him be the family leader, but he didn't reject it. It was because he really did want to lead the Yi family to glory, bringing them to a new level. Yimo waved his hand. We're brothers. No need to say that. Plus, when I was studying at Ninghai, you helped me a lot. Especially when I left, you told Wang Ying to give me that 20K. I had no money on me at all at the time. That 20K helped me a lot. And, in the future, I won't be coming back to Beijing a lot. If there's anything, you can ask Zhang Ju for help. Yimo really felt emotional. When he first woke up, he didn't even have the money to eat food. If it wasn't Wang Ying who brought him 20K, it would be really hard for him. Without that money, he wouldn't be able to reach stage 1 Qi gathering. Without reaching stage 1, he wouldn't be able to sell charms, and without that, he would have no source of income. So, it could be said that Yi Zifeng's 20K gave Yimo the basis to survive in this world. Yi Ling heard this and her eyes went red. She thought of all ways to protect Yimo, and in order not to let people know, she even intentionally hated him and kept trying to start up trouble with Yimo and Yi Zifeng. Her little money was all tricked by her opponents. If Yimo didn't come back to Beijing in time, she wouldn't dare to think what state she would be in. Now, reflecting on how Yimo lived at Ninghai by himself without food to eat, she felt really bad. She really was too naive before. Yimo saw Yi Ling's face and could tell what she was thinking about. He immediately held her hand and said, Ling, you don't need to blame yourself. Your intention was good. You were used by people only because you had no social experience. From now on, think before you do and listen to Zifeng. At this moment, being with her brothers, Yi Ling experienced a long-lost feeling. It was the feeling of family. With family members, there was family. Yi Zifeng dazed and said, Big brother, I told Wang Ying to give you money many times, but at that time, I didn't have much myself. At most, I sent out 1 or 2K. I never brought you 20K. Yimo was also surprised. Zifeng didn't give this to him, but who else would be kind enough to give him money other than his siblings? Brother, could it be that Wang Ying liked you and gave it to you herself? Yi Ling suddenly said. Yimo smiled and patted Yi Ling's head. Don't be so nosy. It would be strange if Wang Ying would like me. He thought of that carefree Wang Ying. She could say anything in front of him. If she really liked him, she wouldn't say that Zifeng gave him the 20K but say it was her. I'll ask her when I go back then. Zifeng, get some more rest. I will leave tonight. It might be a while before I come back. As for Ling, I will refine your necklace and bracelet later. Yimo saw the dim necklace on Yi Ling's neck. Although it could defend, it can't block half an attack from an Earth-level master. As soon as Yimo said that, the Yi family mansion suddenly seemed busy. People kept coming to greet and visit. Yimo didn't know who these people were, but he guessed that they were probably the power circle of Beijing. These people's ears were really good. He just taught He Lu sect and Tan Jiao a lesson, and these people got the news. Zhang Ju is here. Yi Ling, open the door for him. Yimo's spirit sense had scanned Zhang Ju outside. Yi Ling opened the door and indeed saw Zhang Ju outside. Yimo, are you really great heaven? Even Elder Tan was no match for you. You're really... Zhang Ju looked at Yi Ling and Yi Zifeng, who looked at him in shock. He stopped embarrassingly and scratched his head. Yimo smiled. Great heaven? I really don't know myself, but it doesn't matter. Zhang Ju, when I'm not in Beijing, I might have to trouble you to take care of Yi Ling and Zifeng. Zhang Ju immediately patted his chest and said, Don't worry. As long as I'm here, I won't let anyone bully Yi Ling and Zifeng. Yimo nodded and gave a qi-increasing pill to Zhang Ju and said, This pill can at least let you reach black-level tertiary stage from your black-level primary stage. If you eat this at black-level tertiary stage, it can make you reach earth-level. Zhang Ju grabbed the pill as though it was some great treasure. He looked at it and exclaimed, It's that powerful? Is it the spirit pill of the legends? Now, he knew that Yimo might really be a great heaven master and wouldn't doubt at all the things Yimo gave him. Spirit pill? Yimo almost laughed. Qi-increasing pill was possibly the lowest grade pill of the entire cultivation realm, but someone called it spirit pill. If this got out, people would laugh out their teeth. Zhang Ju looked at the phone in his belt and said, "I'm going back. I'll come drink with you later." Emo waved his hand and said, "I'm going to leave Beijing soon. Greet Elder Han for me. Tell him that I will help him find the thing. By the way, how is the woman Han Yen brought back last time?" Emo was asking about Wendong. Zhang Ju quickly said, "She's fine. She recovered very quickly as well. That snow lotus seed was really a good thing, but your means are quite impressive." After she got well, she left with the Feng Tian who came to see her. I don't know where they went exactly, but Han Yen knew and she sent them two away. Hearing that she was fine, Emo felt relieved. Emo didn't really care where she went. He decided to save her life because she was loyal. Even though she was about to be interrogated to death, she didn't want to spill his information. Yiling wanted to ask about Ning Qingxue, but Zhang Ju was here, and it was not convenient to ask. Now that Zhang Ju had left, she immediately asked, "Brother, how is Qingxue now? Have you visited her yet?" Emo didn't want to mention Qingxue, but now that Yiling asked, he felt a little gloomy. "Yeah, how is she now? What's wrong, brother? Did something happen between you and Qingxue's sister?" Yiling didn't know that Ning Qingxue had lost her memory. Emo shook his head and said, "Nothing. After things here are over, I will go see her." Yiling could tell that Emo was hiding something, but since her brother said that, she couldn't really ask anymore. Can I go see her?" Emo immediately waved his hand. "No need. Don't leave Beijing during this time. Wait till I come back." At this time, it was safest for her to stay in Beijing. After helping Yiling and Zifeng repair their protection artifacts, Emo left the mansion. Although he was well known amongst the hierarchy of Beijing, he really didn't know Beijing very well. He just asked Yiling and now know that Wang Ling worked at her family's company. Other than coming to thank her, he also needed to ask who gave him the 20K. When Emo got to the road, he found that there was a bar on the busy road. The bar was called Drunk Eye Bar. The reason he noticed this bar was because he felt this bar was familiar. He seemed to have come here before. Emo quickly remembered that he had been to this bar indeed. When he first came to Beijing, Nye Shuangshuang invited him to this bar. And Nye Shuangshuang killed 2 people at this bar. Emo stopped her when she was taking off her clothes and forced her to swear that she wouldn't have any ill will towards Yiling. However, when Nye Shuangshuang left the sentence, she said, "I'm still a virgin." Emo still didn't understand what it meant now. He didn't know why Nye Shuangshuang said that before she left, but he felt that Nye Shuangshuang was very eerie. It was just like Nye Wubian he killed and that red-robed woman in Chang'an. They all had common characteristics: eerie, bleak, and cruel. Emo shook his head, but that Nye Shuangshuang kept her promise and didn't do anything to Yiling. After he walked past Drunk Eye Bar, he scanned his spirit sense and casually and was surprised to find that Nye Shuangshuang was actually sitting inside the bar. She sat in the exact same position as when they met up. It seemed like she had been sitting there for a long time. What was this woman doing here? He wouldn't believe it if she fell in love with him just seeing him twice and came here to reminisce. He saw with his own eyes how evil this woman was. He saw her indifference when she killed. And her words, "I'm still a virgin." Although he didn't believe that she was, he didn't understand why she would say that. Emo noticed that bleak and evil chi on her was gone, and her inner chi was unstable. Her face was pale. It was obvious she was heavily injured. She had such heavy wounds, why didn't she go treat it? Why was she drinking here? Emo immediately felt strange. Why did she change her cultivation method? If she didn't, why was the chi on her completely different from last time? When Emo saw Nye Wubian, he suspected that she was also the 9 Moon sect disciple. Now that he saw her, the bleak chi was gone, and this was quite suspicious. Just when Emo wanted to go in and ask if she was a member of that sect, a sliver of cruelty appeared on her face as she stood up abruptly. Emo watched as Nye Shuangshuang left the Drunk Eye Bar and followed without thinking. He wanted to see what this woman was doing. Emo followed, but he didn't go far before he was stopped. "You are Emo?" The person stopping him asked uncertainly. Emo looked at the woman in front of him and realized it was the person he was coming to see today. It seemed that she looked at him for quite a while before stopping him, but because Emo changed so much that she wasn't certain. Seeing it was Wang Ying, Emo immediately smiled. Yeah, I'm Emo, but I came for some business with you today. You really are Emo, you've changed so much. I don't even recognize you. Last time I heard Yi Ling talk about you. You actually came to Beijing. Wang Ying called out with surprised joy. Although Emo was well known, she hadn't heard of what he had done, and neither had a lot of people. It was because the people she was connected to were in a whole different league to the people Emo was associated to. And Yi Ling didn't tell things about Emo to Wang Ying. By the way, you said you were looking for me, what for? But Emo, I haven't seen you for more than a year, and you've become so handsome. Did that Ning Qingxue dump you? How about to let me be your girlfriend? Wang Ying was still so carefree, but Emo finally felt some familiarity. Nothing important. When I was at Ninghai Uni, you helped me a lot, so I came to thank you. As for girlfriend, never mind. I can't afford a rich girl like you. Wang Ying waved her hand generously. It's nothing. Don't mention it. Let's go. Big sis will treat you to a big meal. Then, Wang Ying pulled Emo and called a taxi. She then turned to look at Emo. Don't think that I don't have a car. I'm about to buy a car soon. If you don't have anywhere else to go, just stay in Beijing with me. I'll find you something. Wang Ying was being genuine. She knew that Emo wasn't welcomed in the Yi family and knew that he didn't have any good connections. She was purely trying to help him. Emo suddenly remembered about Nye Shuangshuang and scanned his spirit sense out, but he couldn't see anything. Normally, Emo would be grateful to Wang Ying treating him to food and would go. But today he had a lot of things to do, so he could only reject. Wang Ying, let's go. Why are you still here? Let's go Luo Luo tonight. I'm telling you that Qi Xianfeng will also be going. At this moment, a woman came out of the office building behind Wang Ying and said. She subconsciously looked at Emo and Wang Ying, wondering what relationship they were and who Emo was. Wang Ying immediately rejoiced. Really? You're saying that Qi Xianfeng will really go tonight? Why would I lie to you? Wang Ying said apologetically to Emo. Sorry, I can't invite you to dinner tonight. Next time. This is my number. Remember to call me. Xianxia, let's go together. Emo took the name card and said, It's fine. Next time then. But by the way, I want to ask, that last time you gave me 20K, who told you do so? It's Li Mumei. I'm going Emo. Then Wang Ying and that woman got on the car and disappeared. It was Li Mumei? Emo repeated, but he soon understood that Li Mumei wouldn't give him money. The only possibility was that Ning Qingxue told her to do so. Although he knew that Ning Qingxue was using him as a shield and that 20K was to compensate for that, Emo was very grateful. To Emo, he didn't lose out on anything and he really needed money at the time. If he didn't have any more contact with Ning Qingxue later on, he would at most thank her, but now, it reignited his reminiscence for Ning Qingxue. Qingxue. Emo murmured and remembered the one at Shen Nongjia, Di Tua Peak. A girl who risked her life to find him. How could she forget him? How could she be so heartless? Did she not have any memories at all? Emo no longer had the mood to look for Nye Shuangshuang. He wandered cluelessly at the streets of Beijing when reminiscing all the relevant event details of Shen Nongjia, bottom of the cliff. He thought about that small silver heartgrass in that yard in Ninghai and that bloodstain on the silver heartgrass. Perhaps I should go back to Ninghai to have a look. Emo murmured again. Emo didn't know how long he had walked for when the crowd ahead interrupted his thought for Ning Qingxue. He found that he already came by the Yan River unknowingly. The Yan River and Miyang Lake of Beijing didn't intersect. They were two famous sites. Those living around the Miyang Lake were all the wealthy and powerful, so it was also called the Wealthy Lake. Meanwhile, there were very little people around the Yan River. Those who lived here were usually outsiders. Although it didn't have the name of Poverty Lake, it wasn't much different. At this moment, Emo came to the Yan River and the people were gathered around a dead body. Emo scanned his spirit sense. It was a youth in his 20s. His face was gray, but what was scary was that his eyes weren't closed and his terrified expression remained on his face. Ah, Yemo, it's you. I'm Xiao Lei. Do you remember me? A female journalist yelled in joy and walked rapidly to Yemo. Yemo saw Xiao Lei, who was a little skinny, and remembered how she went a flowing snake and Xianxia alone to interview and couldn't help to laugh. Of course I remember. Are you the great journalist Xiao who's always first to run to the front line? I didn't think you would be covering such a small incident. Xiao Lei's face seemed a little sad, but she soon recovered. This isn't small. This man is the sixth that died in Beijing. Everyone died the same way. Terrified expression. I followed the crime squad for more than a month, but we have no leads at all. Sai, let's not talk about this. Are you free tonight? Tonight? Yemo hesitated and said, I'm leaving Beijing tonight, so I'm not free. Oh. Xiao Lei had some disappointment on her face. She finally met Yemo, but Yemo said he wasn't free. She looked hesitantly at Yemo and said, Yemo, I just want to treat you to dinner once. I'm very grateful for last time, so? Yemo smiled. No need, haha. You already did last time we went to Xianxia. Next time, I will treat you to dinner, but I'm really busy today. Xiao Lei. There were already people in the crowd calling for her. Xiao Lei looked helplessly at Yemo. Okay then, next time. But you must not say you're busy again next time. Yemo stared at Xiao Lei for a long time until Xiao Lei started blushing before he suddenly said to her, Give me your hand to me. Ha! Xiao Lei hesitated for a long time and looked at Yemo in confusion. Yemo laughed awkwardly. Sorry, I was too straightforward. Did you notice where the people usually die? Xiao Lei looked around nervously and suddenly reached out her hand in front of Yemo. It's fine here. It was as though her hand was just a thing that she could give to Yemo. Yemo didn't reject, but he didn't grab her hand. Instead, he grabbed her wrist. Xiao Lei blushed and wanted to struggle. She didn't understand why Yemo did this. In her impression, Yemo was a very traditional person. Even if there weren't people here, he wouldn't do such thing, much less with so many people. Yemo's spirit sense felt that there were large amounts of bleak qi inside Xiao Lei's body, just like Xianxia before. He immediately knew that Xiao Lei was invaded by this bleak qi. If this continued to increase, she would die sooner or later. Even if it didn't, she would be very sick. Since he encountered it and it was someone he knew, Yemo didn't mind helping her. If she didn't agree to give her hand out, then never mind. Xiao Lei wasn't Xianxia. Xianxia was Igua's niece, so he would help. If Xiao Lei didn't reach out her hand, he wouldn't help her. The bleak qi was soon forced out of her body by Yemo. Xiao Lei also felt she seemed to be more energetic and light. At this moment, he realized that Yemo seemed to be treating her. When Yemo let go, she immediately asked, Yemo, is there something wrong with me? Yemo nodded. Yes, try to avoid touching these bodies. These bodies just died and they have some bleak qi on them. After you touch them, this deathly bleakness will invade your body. Once or twice is fine, but you must have arrived the scenes first every time. If this continues and if your immunity is weak, then you would become very sick or might even die. Ha! Xiao lay dazed for a long time before saying, No wonder recently I kept feeling sick, and after what you did to me just now, I seem to feel a lot lighter. So that's it. You saved me again. Thank you, Yemo. Yemo frowned. He just found some leads and immediately turned to Xiao Lei and said, You're welcome. We'll talk next time. I have business to do. Xiao Lei watched as Yemo walked off and felt lost. She knew that this man didn't belong to her. Although she knew this man was very excellent, but what use was that? Yemo felt the direction that the frost chi flowed and chased up without hesitation. He was thinking whether or not Nye Shuangshuang did this. After all, not long ago he saw Nye Shuangshuang. And the bleakness he felt in Xiao Lei's body was very similar to the bleakness in Xianxia. An hour later, the sun had fallen completely. Yemo found his target in an empty patch of land. It was a man in his 40s. His face was very long and his bleak qi was even more dense than Nye Wubian. He wore white clothes and stood in the barren land in the middle of the night like a ghost. Not Nye Shuangshuang? Just when Yemo was thinking, he saw Nye Shuangshuang walk over. She was also here as well but was outside of his spirit sense range before. Shuang Shuang, give me the thing, then I won't take your life. The man saw Nye Shuang Shuang and his face calmed down a little and said softly. But his voice wasn't soft and was very sharp instead. Nye Shuang Shuang sneered. Nye Pai, stop dreaming. My Luan Luan has been robbed. Even if it's still here, I won't give it to you. Under the night sky, Nye Shuang Shuang's pale face seemed paler under the moonlight. Humph, Nye Shuang Shuang, you will give it to me today no matter what. If I didn't see you at Beijing this time, I would have thought you were cultivating the same cultivation method as the 9-moon method. But now I understand that you switched secretly. Don't think I can't tell that you're a virgin? If you cultivate our way, you can remain a virgin. The long-faced man sneered and seemed vicious as he glared at Nye Shuang Shuang's pale face. Seeing that Nye Shuang Shuang shut her mouth tightly and didn't say anything, he sneered, I'll give you an option. Give me the thing and also give me your red pill. Other than that, stay with me for a year. I can keep this secret for you. Otherwise, don't blame me. Emo frowned as he listened. He didn't understand a sentence of it. But he saw Nye Shuang Shuang kill the 2 men at the drunk eye bar with his own eyes and pulled her skirt open. He definitely wouldn't believe that Nye Shuang Shuang was a virgin. But from this man's words, Nye Shuang Shuang really was a virgin. How could this be? I can give it to you. Nye Shuang Shuang walked a few steps forward and was going to pull off her clothes again. The long-faced man smiled and didn't move. When Nye Shuang Shuang finished that sentence, 2 bright beams of light suddenly shot out of her clothes like laser towards the man's forehead and throat. Emo immediately recognized the 2 beams. It was the 2 long needles he saw Nye Shuang Shuang use to kill. Nye Shuang Shuang could actually use them as projectiles to take this man by surprise. Could be seen that she spent a lot of efforts on that. But Emo knew that Nye Shuang Shuang was wasting her effort because this man was Earth level and Nye Shuang Shuang wasn't even Yellow level middle stage. There was no way she could take out an Earth level by surprise. As expected, the man just waved his hand and the 2 needles fell into his hands. He played with the needles and said plainly, Shuang Shuang, don't play your little tricks in front of your big martial brother. Wu Bian and Red Robes have been killed. Before Red Robes died, she sent the message that the person who killed her was the person who killed Wu Bian. I investigated. He's called Emo. You should know him right. Seeing Nye Shuang Shuang still refusing to talk, the man sneered. Take me to find Emo. I will let him understand that no one can kill our 9-moon sect's disciples. Then, sleep with me for a year or so and perhaps I'll let you go. You want me to help you find Emo? Keep dreaming. You shemale want woman? Are you even able? You want woman, wait for your next life. Nye Shuang Shuang stared coldly at this man. Her eyes were full of anger and ridicule. You're asking for it. This man suddenly jumped up and kicked onto Nye Shuang Shuang's chest. Nye Shuang Shuang flew out more than 10 meters and spat blood in the air. Then she fell to the ground and could no longer move. Emo knew that Nye Shuang Shuang probably wasn't going to live after that kick. Just when he wanted to go over, this man seemed to have noticed something and suddenly sprung up and was about to dart away. Emo dazed. He thought that since this man was looking for him, he wouldn't run away even when he came. Otherwise, why would this man still be looking for him? However, this man was trying to escape and he wouldn't let that happen. The purple flying sword caught up to the man rapidly and turned into a purple death ray. Emo wanted to slice off his legs as he still needed to ask the man some questions. The man's legs were cut off but he didn't stop. He flew out a few more meters and fell into the Yen River. Blood spread across the surface of the river and quickly disappeared. Emo followed out with his spirit sense but he didn't find any trace of the man. Looking at the 2 legs, Emo frowned and thought he was too careless. He didn't expect this guy to be this good at running. But luckily he cut off his legs. Emo followed along the river and still had no leads. So, he could only return to the place where the fight took place. On the ground, dark red blood seeped out from the 2 legs. Emo burned them casually with a fireball but he was thinking, this 9-moon sect really had a whole spectrum of arts. Emo was sure that with the way Nye Pai was running, even Tan Jiao wasn't able to catch up to him, much less normal Earth levels. If Emo wasn't careless at the start, The man wouldn't have gotten away for sure, but he used Yemo's carelessness to escape despite losing his legs. Yemo went by Nie Shuangshuang and scanned his spirit sense. He was sure that if he didn't rescue her, she would be dead for sure. Her internal injuries were too severe. Yemo shook his head. Although he didn't know the exact locations of the Nine Moon Sect, he was sure he could find it. There was no need to ask Nie Shuangshuang. Since she was going to die, then let her be. Yemo turned around. Although he didn't want to save Nie Shuangshuang, he didn't want to watch her die either. The best thing to do was pretend he didn't see anything. Wait! Nie Shuangshuang's voice was so weak that it almost couldn't be heard. She seemed to have seen someone in front of her. Although the figure was very blurry, she was sure it wasn't her big martial brother Nie Pai. But now she didn't want to think who this person was. Yemo looked coldly at Nie Shuangshuang and didn't speak. Nie Shuangshuang didn't even look up and took out a letter and gave it to Yemo. Please give this to Yemo. Tell him the Nine Moon Sect people want to kill him. Tell him to run. Nie Shuangshuang didn't even finish and suddenly spouted out more blood and then banged her head back on the ground. Her hand slunk down powerlessly and the letter became red in her hands. Yemo took the letter with surprise. He glanced at the unconscious Nie Shuangshuang and opened the letter. Yemo, sorry that I hid things from you. I thought about things later and I'm sure that you're an ancient martial arts cultivator. I'm actually also an ancient marital arts cultivator, but the sect I came from is the Nine Moon Sect. Because the cultivation methods they practice are so evil, the outer hidden sects do not allow the Nine Moon Sect to join them. So now, despite being a lot stronger than many outer hidden sects, the Nine Moon Sect can only be called semi-hidden sect. You will ask me why would I treat you differently after only seeing you twice. It's because you have this chi on you that will dissipate this killing intent on me and also reduce the bleak poison in my body. Although I came from the Nine Moon Sect, I didn't cultivate their cultivation method, but no one knew that. It's because I have a pet called Luan Luan. Luan Luan can cultivate the Nine Moon Sect cultivation method. It needs to digest the spirit and yin chi of dead people. And he can also change into anything. So usually, I put him in a pocket because if my master knew that I didn't cultivate the Nine Moon Sect way, I would be killed immediately. But as Luan Luan got stronger and stronger, I could no longer control it. I felt it would usurp me at any time, and I'm also feeling a stronger and stronger desire for blood. I'm very scared. I felt the bleak and poisonous chi on me was getting denser and denser. Perhaps eventually, without Luan Luan to consume me, I would be already dead. But then later I met you. Standing by you, I felt you were different to other ancient martial artists. Your chi could make me give up the urge to kill and dispel the bleak chi on me. I invited you to a date. This was the first time I genuinely dated a man. But in your eyes, I saw disgust and hatred. I hated myself. I was very sad. After leaving you, I cried for a week. Then I chose to leave Beijing. I tried to control myself from killing for no reason because I don't want to see the disgust in your eyes. Because I stopped killing people, I finally couldn't control Luan Luan. Luan Luan left, but it remembered that I fed it and raised him so it didn't devour me. Luan Luan left. I fell sick. Although it didn't devour me, I was heavily invaded by the bleak chi since I kept Luan Luan without cultivating the Nine Moon Sect way before. I knew my life was at an end. I didn't go find Luan Luan. Neither did I dare to return to the Nine Moon Sect. So I came back to Beijing again. I wanted to see you even just once. So, I often sat at Drunk Eye Bar waiting for you. Waiting for a miracle. The letter was unfinished. It just ended there. Yemo saw the unfinished letter and sighed. No wonder Nie Shuangshuang said she was still a virgin. It was because she saw the disgust in his eyes. She said that just to prove something. No wonder when he first saw her, she had this bleak and strange chi on her. It was her pet, a pet that devoured spirits. If her pet just devoured a male soul and hadn't fully digested it, then she would have that strange chi indeed. It seemed that everything you saw wasn't always true. When he saw her pull open her skirt, it was just her letting out her pet to devour spirits. There was actually such a thing that could change into something like the environment and ascend through devouring human spirits. If this thing was in the cultivation realm, It would be fought over by countless people, but on Earth it was a disaster. Emo looked at the unconscious Nye Shuangshuang as his heart battled intensely over whether or not to save her life. Never mind, he still had 3 Lotus Life pills anyways. Seeing that you risked your life to notify me about the 9 Moon Sect, I'll feed you one. As for whether you live or die, that will depend on your luck. Emo took out a Lotus Life pill and put it in her mouth. The pill immediately melted and flowed into Nye Shuangshuang's body. After feeding, Emo didn't want to waste time here. He got on his flying sword and flew towards Chun'en like a comet. He knew that tonight there would be a slaughter fest at Chun'en. When Emo got back to Chun'en, it was already almost 10 p.m. He felt that he was about to grasp something but couldn't. It was Nye Shuangshuang's letter. There seemed to be some information he needed inside, but he couldn't find what it was. Emo returned to his living place. The building was still quite dead. Other than the elderly on the 1st and 2nd floor, the 3rd floor and above was dead silent. Because he didn't see Luo Xian, Emo wanted to find her. It was for that golden paper. Now, he had the latter half of the Nye Luo Sutra, but the former half wasn't found. But before he went to look for Luo Xian, Emo still needed to go to the Hua family. Just then, when he walked to his place, he purposely slowed down but didn't see anyone come to stop him. According to Hong Xi's words, they should be ambushing him at Chun'en. How come there wasn't any? When Emo came to the Hua family, he immediately understood why. Hua Kuming had left and Hua Kei was nowhere to be seen. Emo scanned his spirit sense in the library and many of the books were carried away. Although he was quite annoyed by this old guy Hua Kuming, he wasn't angry to the extent that he was going to kill Hua Kuming's family. Plus, although Hua Kuming wanted to kill him, he didn't do anything yet. Regardless of whether or not he acted on a tip-off, since he didn't attack, Emo wouldn't waste time to kill him. There wasn't too much feud between them. Hua Kuming wasn't here and he wasn't ambushed. Emo immediately knew that news of him killing for Earth levels must have been leaked to the people who were going to ambush him. Emo didn't care too much about these people running, but one of the He Lu sect elder Yu ran away, and he wasn't quite happy about that. After all, this man was on his must-kill list. As long as it was the He Lu sect he wanted to kill. But Emo also knew that it was very hard for these people to not know the news. Emo felt quite unsatisfied but could only let it go like that. He was prepared to meet Luo Xian later and then go to the He Lu sect. He couldn't let the He Lu sect people retreat. He must remove out the source of the trouble. Inghua Temple, although it was quite old and shattered, it had a long history. When Emo came to the outskirts of the temple, he didn't find anyone with his spirit sense. He only smelled blood. He quickly walked in. There was no one inside the temple, but there was blood everywhere on the ground and the range wasn't small. The blood seemed quite fresh, meaning there was killing here not long ago. Did something happen to Luo Xian? When Emo thought about Luo Xian, the first thought actually wasn't that she had the golden paper he needed, but when she patted her chest and said she wasn't afraid of ghosts, when she hung the peachwood sword outside his room in the middle of the night. Then, he thought about if she had that golden paper on her. Emo looked around carefully. Outside, there were messy footsteps. From the amount of footsteps, it seemed there weren't many people here, only about 4 to 5. Emo confirmed again it was 4. If one pair was Luo Xian's, then other than Luo Xian, 3 other people also came here. Emo suddenly felt impetuous. If it wasn't for following Nye Shuangshuang, perhaps he would have came here when the incident hadn't occurred. Emo circled around a few times outside and eventually saw the footprints of 2 people. It seemed that other than the 4, more people came. But they came and left quickly. Emo was sure that other than those, there were no more marks. He looked back disappointedly. It seemed that he didn't have luck with that golden paper. Whether Luo Xian was dead or alive, it would depend on her fortune. Emo went back to his place. The building was still dead and lifeless. Emo walked in front of Luo Xian's door and subconsciously reached in with his spirit sense. It was empty indeed. Luo Xian wasn't back. Then he went back to his place. Emo closed the door and habitually scanned the room with his spirit sense. Luo Xian was curled up around his bed, shaking like a lamb. Luo Xian, what happened to you? Emo walked over and asked Luo Xian in surprise. Luo Xian, who usually wasn't afraid of ghosts, saw Emo now and could no longer hold in her cries. Emo looked at Luo Xian and saw that she was injured but not very serious. And it was getting better. It seemed that she had eaten some pills. Stand up first and tell me what's wrong? Emo asked again. Luo Xian sniffed for a moment and stood up, and then said, I found the Ni Luo Sutra at Chun and Uni, and waited for you till 8 p.m. You still hadn't come back, so I went to the Yinghua temple. When I arrived, there was only my second martial sister, Luo Fei, there. I talked with her for a while, and she said she wanted to go see if big martial sister had returned, so she went out. Emo took out a bottle of water from his ring and gave it to Luo Xian. Luo Xian didn't notice where Emo took it out from and just took it over and drank the water. Then she continued, After a while my big martial sister came. I told her I found the Ni Luo Sutra and took out the 2 parts and showed her. She was very happy and excited. I asked her if she had seen second martial sister and she said she hadn't. I thought that second martial sister just went out. How could she not see? Just when I wanted to go see, I heard this cry of pain outside. It seemed to be my second martial sister's. I rushed out quickly, but my big martial sister was faster than me. As soon as she heard the sound, she charged out. But she immediately came back inside the temple. There was blood all over her chest. In that short moment, she was ambushed. Speaking till here, Luo Xian cried again. Emo frowned. He felt this thing was strange. If someone was really going to ambush Luo Xian, then wouldn't it be the perfect time to strike when her second martial sister had already left and her big martial sister hadn't come yet? Then I helped my big martial sister up. I wanted to help her stop the bleeding, but she couldn't hold on. She told me to go immediately. I said second martial sister wasn't back yet. Big martial sister just told me to go immediately. I listened to her, but when I turned around to take away the Ni Luo Sutra I put on the side, I noticed that it was gone. Luo Xian kept sniffing. Emo patted her shoulders and said, Don't worry. Keep talking. MHM. Luo Xian truly felt helpless now. Usually, it was her big martial sister deciding for her, but now, she felt very lost. Emo's comfort calmed her a lot. She nodded and continued. I was shocked to see the Ni Luo Sutra disappear, and just when I wanted to turn around, someone hid behind me, palmed my back. I spat out blood and it spilled on big martial sister's face. She suddenly woke up and yelled, pulling me to charge out from the back of Yinghua temple. She was very fast, and I seemed to have heard a lot of noises from behind. Those people for some reason didn't keep chasing. Big martial sister took me and ran a few miles before falling unconscious to the ground. I remembered that lotus life pill you gave me and I gave it to my big martial sister. Then, I carried my big martial sister and ran in a different direction. After 7 kilometers, when I couldn't run anymore, I put my big martial sister down. Emo nodded. Although from Luo Xian's description, her big martial sister was heavily wounded. If she ate his lotus life pill, she should be fine. So, he asked again, since you came back, where's your big martial sister? Luo Xian cried out once again. After a moment, she said, when big martial sister woke up, she said that the pill I gave her was very good. She felt a lot better and should be fine. But then, she said we should go separately. She told me to go meet her a year later at Luozong. In the meantime, we must not have any contacts at all, and she threw away our phones. Emo suddenly understood something. He looked at Luo Xian and said, Can you show me your wound on your back? Ha! Luo Xian stopped crying and looked at Emo in surprise. Checking the wound on her back. Didn't that mean she had to take off her top? Emo also realized it wasn't very appropriate after saying it. He subconsciously didn't even think about this because he really didn't have any intentions for a loli like Luo Xian. Since it's inconvenient, then never mind. Emo quickly said. Luo Xian shook her head. There's nothing inconvenient, brother. I trust you. There must be a reason you want to see it. I'll show you. Then Luo Xian took off her top. On her smooth and silky skin, there was a red palm print. Although Emo didn't think of anything, he still felt his face getting a little warmer when he saw Luo Xian's round breast in her bra and her slender supple waist. The faint smell of a virgin came from Luo Xian's body, making Yi Mo's throat dry. He quickly said, "It's done." At this moment, Luo Xian's face was also burning a little, but as soon as she put her clothes back on, Yi Mo asked, "What else did your big martial sister say?" Luo Xian came back to her sense and sniffed. "I said second martial sister hasn't come back. What do we do?" Big martial sister stayed silent for a long time before saying, "Second martial sister is very smart. She should be fine. She told me to leave Chun and immediately and don't show my face, nor go look for her or try to go back to the sect. At the same time, she said not to believe anyone. She even said not to trust her." "Yi brother, why are things like this?" Yi Mo had understood now. He sighed. "When you first came to Yinghua Temple and you saw your second martial sister, did you tell her that you got the Ni Luo Sutra?" Luo Xian wasn't dumb. She dazed upon Yi Mo's question, but soon her face went red. "Yi brother, you're suspecting my second martial sister? She definitely isn't that sort of person. We're like sisters. I'm sure she isn't this type of person." Before she finished, Luo Xian stopped. She had understood that not only was Yi Mo suspecting her second martial sister, but her big martial sister was also suspecting her second martial sister. It was just that the big martial sister didn't want to accept this fact. That's why she told Luo Xian not to even trust her own words, implying that Luo Xian shouldn't trust second martial sister's words either. It was because big martial sister didn't want to accept this reality and wasn't completely certain that the second martial sister was responsible for this. Luo Xian's eyes suddenly showed extreme sadness and disappointment. She didn't want to accept the reality that her second martial sister wanted to kill her and her big martial sister. She could only murmur, "No, this isn't real." Yi Mo sneered, "I don't know if it's real or not. Your second martial sister went to find your big martial sister and it was just outside the Yinghua Temple. How could she disappear? And I'm sure that your second martial sister wasn't going to find your big martial sister as soon as you came. It was after you said you found the Ni Luo Sutra, right? And do you know what wound is on your back? It's a palm print. A woman's palm print." Luo Xian could no longer hold the melancholy in her heart, and tears dripped down. She had never thought that the sister like second martial sister would try to kill her. Before, they were all living together. Why were things like this? Yi Mo didn't mind Luo Xian's state at all and continued. "It's because your big martial sister guessed this, then she told you to leave and even carried you out 7 kilometers and asked you to run away by yourself. If it wasn't that lotus life pill, your big martial sister would be dead for sure. But since big martial sister survived, why did she still leave me?" Luo Xian sniffed. She really didn't want to know these were real. "It's because she was marked. If she stayed with you, you would die as well. And if you haven't suddenly reached black level primary stage peak, then that palm would have already killed you. So the person ambushing you knew your power and was sure that palm could kill you. But she didn't expect you reached black level and that palm actually didn't kill you. So, in this person's calculations, you and your big martial sister were both killed, but your power and lotus life pill saved your lives unexpectedly." Yi Mo said plainly, as though he had seen everything with his own eyes. Luo Xian was already very smart, and after Yi Mo's reminder, she put together all the things. Things were indeed as Yi Mo said. She was dumbfounded, but she soon worriedly grabbed Yi Mo's arm. "Yi brother, quickly save my big martial sister. I know you're strong. She has been marked. What do we do?" Yi Mo smiled. "Luo Xian, don't worry. The reason your big sister was marked was because she knew the person who ambushed her had poison on the sword. That person could track your big martial sister by the poison. However, he didn't expect that my lotus life pill can erase any poison in a very short time. So you don't need to worry about her. Your second martial sister won't be able to find her." Luo Xian's hanging heart finally fell, but thinking about second martial sister's ruthlessness, she couldn't help to cry again. "You don't need to cry. Your second martial sister won't be able to find you and your big martial sister's bodies. Then they will look around everywhere for you too. You should think about how to escape from your second martial sister's hunt." Yi Mo glanced at Luo Xian and said, "You actually dare to come back here? I'm sure that your second martial sister will be able to find here soon." Luo Xian rubbed her eyes. I don't dare to go back to school, and if I leave Chunin, I don't know anyone. I only know you and Ziyun. Ziyun is an ordinary person. I don't want to harm her, so I could only come back and wait for you here. I was thinking if you don't come back, I would go to Flowing Snake to find Su brother. I have nowhere to go. Yemo suddenly thought it wasn't right. If Luo Xian's second sister was coming for Luo Xian, then should have found this place ages ago. Did something happen in between? He looked at Luo Xian and said, "Since you came back, why don't you go back to your own room? Why are you in my place?" Luo Xian opened her mouth and hesitated for a long time before saying, "That elevator is going up automatically. I don't dare to stay in my room, so I hid next to your bed waiting for you to come back." Then, Luo Xian looked worriedly at Yemo and found that Yemo didn't blame her. She relaxed a little and immediately flipped open the quilt on Yemo's bed. Soon, she pulled out a yellow paper from under the quilt and gave it to Yemo. "This is the paper I took from the upper half of the Ni Luo Sutra. Here." Yemo took the paper in joy. He didn't expect Luo Xian to take the thing out first and hid it under his quilt. He immediately burned the yellow cover showing a golden paper. Yemo stared at this paper for a long time before saying to Luo Xian, "Thank you very much, Luo Xian." Seeing Yemo being so delighted, Luo Xian finally showed a little smile. She felt that was the most correct thing she did. The first thing she did after getting the Ni Luo Sutra was to put this paper in Yemo's room and then go see her two martial sisters. "You saved my big martial sister, and this is something I should do," Luo Xian said. Yemo checked this golden paper repeatedly and then took out a cloth wrapping it carefully and putting it back in his ring. Then he said, "Not bad. You helped me out a lot this time. Okay, since you have nowhere to go, then follow me for now. After I'm done with my things, I'll send you back to your sect." "But if they really did it, wouldn't they be waiting for us on the way? Big martial sister told me not to go back no matter what." And, Luo Xian said hesitantly. Yemo laughed pridefully. "They can stop other people, but no one can stop where Yemo, want to go. After I'm finished with the thing here tonight, come with me to Qiyang Mountain tomorrow and then I'll send you back." Luo Xian shook her head and said, "I don't want to. Even if you can send me back, I still need to find my big martial sister otherwise. I can't rest easy. And, why are you going to Qiyang Mountain?" "Of course to annihilate the He Lu sect. What? If you're scared, wait for me here," Yemo said with a smile. He knew that Luo Xian wouldn't dare to wait for him here by himself. As expected, Luo Xian said, "I'm not staying here. I'll go with you. I'm also black level now. Perhaps I can help you a little." "Okay. In that case, let's go upstairs first." Yemo nodded and said, "Why are we going up there?" Luo Xian immediately looked vigilant. Yemo smiled plainly and said, "Of course we're going to annihilate the ghost." "Ha!" Luo Xian hesitated for a moment before saying, "But that ghost is too strong. My master said I have spirit eyes, but even I can't see it and was hurt by it. I think we shouldn't go up." Yemo smiled. "Okay, then wait for me here. I'll go up and capture it then come down. I think I should go up with you, one extra person, one extra share of power." Luo Xian immediately changed her words. If Yemo wasn't coming back, she really didn't want to stay here. She wasn't afraid of ghosts, but it was another thing when she couldn't even see the ghost. And that ghost didn't even seem to be scared of the peachwood sword. "Don't worry, I have a good idea of what it is. I'm just going to confirm. If I'm right, that ghost had left. I'm just going to see again in the elevator." Yemo smiled and comforted Luo Xian. He really did guess what that thing was. After seeing Nye Shuangshuang's letter, Yemo guessed that thing might be the pet she had before, Luan Luan. Because Luan Luan could camouflage, she changed into the same color as the elevator and stuck to one corner of it. People wouldn't be able to notice it at all. After he saw Nye Shuangshuang's letter, he thought of this Luan Luan. And when he checked the elevator before, there was one part of it that did seem to protrude, but he didn't take note of it. Now that he thought of it, it was probably that thing. Now he was just going to confirm it. As for why Luan Luan would come here, Yemo guessed that it was probably related to the red-robed woman he killed. After Luan Luan escaped, It needed to devour spirits. Since the red-robed woman was here, the Inchi here was very strong and attracted Luan Luan. Perhaps that red-robed woman wanted to capture it. Of course, it might be the other way around. After Luan Luan came, the red-robed woman was attracted by it. Yi brother, do you really know what it is? Is it not a ghost? Luo Xian asked in surprise. No, this thing is much scarier than ghosts. Yemo nodded. The elevator stopped on the 8th floor and Yemo and Luo Xian went in. Yemo pressed the button for the 12th floor and kept an eye on the surrounding walls. As expected, he noticed some faint inchi next to the buttons. Yemo knew this was where the thing attached to, and because it hadn't left too long ago, there were still inchi attached to it. Did you find it? When Luo Xian asked, the elevator had stopped at the 12th floor. Obviously, she was very anxious and didn't even notice that she was grabbing onto Yemo's sleeve. Yemo stepped out of the elevator and said, Yes, I found it, but it probably have left. It's a very vicious thing. It feasts on bleak and evil chi. And it's murderous. Originally, there were ghosts here, but after I killed them, it couldn't stay and left. Luo Xian seemed to have understood something and asked, You killed them? I was pushed out by a very strong ghost that day on the 9th floor. Did you kill that? No wonder I didn't see it again when I went up again. Yemo jumped onto the top of the building and once again felt the light breathe. He exclaimed. He had only been here a bit more than a year, but during this time, too much had happened. Luo Xian also followed up to the top and relaxed down. She saw Yemo standing there in silence and walked by his side and asked, Yi brother, what are you thinking about? I'm thinking. Yemo hesitated before saying, Luo Xian, if one day you really like a man, would you forget about him if you lost your memory? Ha! Luo Xian felt caught off guard. She blushed and immediately said, Yi brother, what are you saying? I'm a Dao cultivator. Why would I suddenly like a man? Yemo nodded subconsciously. That's right, you're a Dao cultivator. My question was too abrupt. Yemo looked into the distant stars and lights and was lost in thought. Luo Xian looked at Yemo's despaired face and dazed eyes and didn't talk. She just stood at the top of the building with Yemo looking out into the distant lights. After a long while, she found that Yemo was still in that position and asked worriedly, Yi brother, did you lose your love? I don't really understand these things, but I've been in the uni for 2 years. I've seen quite some students who have lost their love. They seemed really sad. Amicham, a bit like you. Lost love, Yemo murmured. Did he? Then he shook his head. I don't know. Yemo suddenly thought of something and looked at Luo Xian and asked, By the way, you said you're a Dao cultivator. What sect are you from? Luo Xian hesitated for a brief moment but didn't hide it. My sect is called Ci Jing Monastery. It's a very ancient sect in China. Ci Jing Monastery? Why does it seem familiar? Yemo repeated and immediately remembered that at that social night, he saw a stall called Ci Jing Monastery. He didn't know if the two were connected. But Luo Xian said slowly, If you have heard this name, it's very normal because long ago, the Ci Jing Monastery was outside and wasn't in the small world. Sects going into the small world were only in the recent few centuries. I don't know the specifics too well, but that Ni Luo Sutra is a very important book our sect left outside. Yemo nodded and fell silent. He didn't ask more. He didn't care about that too much. He believed that although there were things in this world that could threaten him, there wasn't much. Seeing Yemo falling into silence again, Luo Xian asked, Yi brother, I know you're a great person. What is your dream? Dream? Yemo frowned. His dream was of course to reach long life with Luo Ying and stay together forever or even ascend to an immortal, but now, he knew that was an absurd dream. Although he had started his company and was prepared to use that to gather wealth for him and Luo Ying to cultivate, he knew that he would be hugely lucky if he even reached foundation establishment. What about Luo Ying and Xianxia? If he didn't meet Xianxia or have that much connections, then he wouldn't care. But now, even if he found Luo Ying and stayed with her, could he really let Xianxia go in his heart? It was this hard for him. Perhaps his mind state still needed ascension. After long, Yemo sighed, My dream is very hard to realize. Luo Xian looked sympathetically at Yimo. Although she didn't know what Yimo's dream was, but it must be related to the girl that lost her memory he mentioned before. She sighed. Yi brother, sometimes we don't need to think too much. Before, I was cultivating in my sect. I was very innocent, but coming out to this world, I realized there were so many unfathomable things outside. I think that if we were still in our sect, my second martial sister wouldn't do such thing for sure. She was tricked. She was tricked for sure. Talking about her second sister, Luo Xian's mood fell despondent again. Emo smiled. If your second sister is really as what you think she is, then she wouldn't be tricked. Never mind, you should stop thinking about your second martial sister. You still haven't said what your dream is. Luo Xian said slowly. Before, my dream was to cultivate diligently and reach the highest, great heaven state. That day when I stood at the top of this building, I suddenly thought if only I could fly one day. Perhaps that is my dream. I think my dream would never be realized because I know that's impossible. So, Yi brother, dream and reality are two different things. Even if it can't be realized, it's good to think about it frequently just like me now. I'm standing here imagining that I'm flying and I feel a lot better. Yimo shook his head. Luo Xian, perhaps your dream can be realized, but my dream can be never realized. Are you talking about taking the plane? I've taken it before, but it feels no different to riding a car. I don't like that way of flying. Luo Xian shook her head. Let's stop talking about these. I'm going to Qiyang Mountain. Come with me. Yimo cast aside those thoughts and said, of course, from now on, wherever Yi brother goes, I will follow. Luo Xian said without hesitation. Her big martial sister wasn't here and she couldn't live here by herself. Yimo shook his head, however, and didn't talk. What's wrong, Yi brother? Luo Xian immediately asked. Yimo smiled and said, I'll say something, but don't reply casually. If I jump off the building, will you jump off with me? So, of course, if Yi brother is going to jump off the building, I will jump off with you. But I know, Yi brother, you won't. Before Luo Xian finished, Yimo had already jumped off. Ha! Luo Xian's mind went blank. She didn't expect Yimo would really jump off. She thought Yimo was joking. Why is it like this? Luo Xian's mind went blank. There was only one sentence in her mind. Don't reply casually. If I jump off the building, will you jump with me? Yi brother jumped off because he lost his love, but I promised him that I would do whatever he did. The thoughts flashed across her mind like lightning while Yimo fell down like a comet. In Luo Xian's eyes, the only one she could rely on now was Yi brother, but Yi brother actually jumped off the building. Her mind got blank. She suddenly thought, did Yi brother jump off because that woman promised him something but dumped him in the end? But I also promised him as well. The word promised kept ringing her mind. Was he going to be cheated again? At that instant, she didn't want to think about it anymore. She just closed her eyes and jumped off like that. The fresh wind brushed past her and she actually felt some sense of satisfaction. Although it was a very short time, she finally realized her dream before her death. She managed to fly for a brief moment. In that instant, she actually felt tranquility and didn't have fear in her heart. She didn't want to think about anything in that moment, whether it was Yimo or her sect or her two martial sisters. No wonder Yi brother said, perhaps my dream could be realized. Although it was a very short time, but it was realized indeed. But what was Yi brother's dream? Luo Xian suddenly felt strange. She should have fallen on the ground long ago. Why was she still not on the ground? She opened her eyes and yelled out in surprise. Yi brother? Did we all die? How come I don't feel the pain of falling on the ground? Then, she subconsciously looked down and realized that she was getting higher and higher, not falling lower. What was this? Yimo stood in front of Luo Xian with his hands behind his back and said with a lonely tone, Luo Xian, thanks for jumping off with me. Let me help you realize your dream. Now you can fly in the skies. Luo Xian dazed for a really long time before reacting. She looked at the endless sky underneath. It was like a dream. She looked at Yimo and asked, Yi brother, are we really flying in the sky? Yimo smiled plainly. Yes, we are flying now. Yi brother, are you an immortal? Luo Xian dazed and asked with more shock. She had long known Emo wasn't ordinary but had never expected him to be this extraordinary. Emo shook his head. His expression grew sadder. Immortal was his goal, but he and this goal were tens of galaxies apart. He might even never accomplish this goal. He knew he wasn't an immortal. Emo didn't reply and Luo Xian didn't ask. She looked carefully at where she stood and realized it was on the body of a huge sword. Where did this huge flying sword come from? She had never seen such a huge sword by Emo. After the initial shock, she finally calmed down. Although she had too much questions, she knew these things weren't something she could understand. If Emo didn't say, she wouldn't ask. She stood by Emo and felt this peaceful night sky and the broad view. Light wind brushed past and Luo Xian had this indescribable excitement and aspiration. After long, when Emo felt his spirit chi depleting, he went back on top of the building again. Luo Xian stood on the top of the building. She didn't have any questions nor ask where Yemo's flying sword went. She just looked at Yemo and said, "Ye brother, thank you. You fulfilled my dream. Although it was just one night, I'm satisfied." Yemo smiled. "It's fine. I just happened to be able to do it and you happen to be willing to believe me." Luo Xian's mind seemed to have suddenly matured a lot. For ordinary people, the hidden sex people were the apex and mystical beings, but to her, Yemo was also the apex and mystical being. She heard Yemo's words and smiled peacefully. "I just don't want you brother to be disappointed again, or perhaps I didn't think too much at the time and was just a sudden decision. If I had to do it again, perhaps I wouldn't dare to jump." Yemo looked gratefully at Luo Xian and didn't speak. Ning Qingshua's attitude after she lost her memory dealt him a heavy blow. It was something he couldn't let go and now, it suddenly got a lot better. "Don't tell anyone about me." After a moment, Yemo said. Luo Xian nodded. Even if Yemo didn't tell her, she wouldn't tell anyone. Tonight's event was too shocking. If this spread out, especially to the hidden sex, who knows how great rupture it can cause. Let's go. Let's go downstairs. Those people probably wouldn't be coming tonight." Yemo turned back and smiled to Luo Xian. Luo Xian dazed. She understood now that other than coming up to catch the ghost, he also wanted to wait for her second martial sister to come. "You state." Ning Qingxue felt the necklace on her chest and her expression was lost. Ever since that day Yemo left spitting blood, she started feeling this heartache and wearing this necklace could ease that pain. But no matter how hard she thought, she couldn't remember where she bought this necklace. And that pill Yemo brought last time, ever since she ate it, not only did her skin get a lot better, she also had this immortal vibe to her. It was as though she was going to ride the wind and fly. Although Li Mumei asked a few times what was going on, Ning Qingxue wasn't willing to believe it was due to Yemo's pill. How could she have any associations with Yemo? What sort of a person was Yemo? Although Ning Qingxue wasn't too clear, she could understand through what others thought of him, and she also knew that the marriage between them was due to family issues. But ever since Yemo was cast out by the Yi family, the Ning family had never mentioned the marriage between her and Yemo. Did something really happen in this year? Ning Qingxue frowned and sat there dazedly for a long time until Li Mumei came in. "Qingxue, let's go out for a walk. It's not good to stay inside all the time," Li Mumei said worriedly to Ning Qingxue. Ning Qingshu shook her head and said, "Mumei, I really don't believe that there's any connections between me and Yemo, but why did he come to you state?" Li Mumei's face seemed morose. She didn't want to explain anything to Ning Qingxue. Some things it was better to stay forgotten for Ning Qingxue. Her mother was right. Since Ning Qingxue stayed with Yemo, she was heavily injured twice. And Li Mumei also knew that Ning Qingxue probably went to Flowing Snake alone once. Although she didn't know exactly what happened, she knew it wasn't simple. Seeing that Li Mumei didn't talk, Ning Qingshu sighed. "Is there really something I don't know?" Li Mumei sat down. "Qingxue, don't think too much. In the past year you've seen Yemo a few times. I think he probably fell in love with you." Ning Qingxue nodded. She knew about herself. She knew that she was too pretty and was getting even prettier recently, but she really didn't care about that. What she cared about was accomplishing a successful career. Since her parents already left the Beijing Ning family, She needed to do something for the family. That was her goal. It was very normal for Yimo to fall in love with her, but it was impossible the other way around. Seeing that Ning Qingxue seemed to have agreed with her words, Li Mumei felt relieved. Okay, Qingxue, I'll take you to see some old friends in Beijing. It's not good to always stay here by yourself in Yu State. Ning Qingxue shook her head. Mumei, I don't really want to go to Beijing. I don't like that place. Mumei, do you know where this necklace came from? It's really good. I can feel it curing my heartache. Li Mumei looked worriedly at Ning Qingxue's necklace. Although she didn't know where it came from, she was certain it had something to do with Yimo. I'm not too sure. I think you probably bought it in Beijing. But this necklace looks really good. If you remember where you bought it, even I want to go buy one. It seems to be made from warm jade. It's really pretty. Li Mumei liked this necklace even though she knew it was related to Yimo. Ning Qingshu put the necklace down and said after a while, Mumei, I've searched for some cases of memory loss on the internet. If it's a really soul-etched memory, then even if you lose it, you will have some impression, but I have no impression for Yimo at all. This means that although there is him in my lost memory, it's not very important. So, I don't really mind if I can recover this memory or not. You don't need to worry. Ning Qingshu saw the worry in Li Mumei's eyes and comforted her. Li Mumei thought and agreed. If Qingxue was really deeply in love with Yimo, then how can she have no impression at all? Perhaps Qingxue was right. Was she tricked by Yimo's sweet words during the days she stayed with him? Thinking about this, Li Mumei wished she could tell Qingxue's mum immediately. Maybe they thought wrong from the beginning. Li Mumei suddenly thought of something and asked Ning Qingxue excitedly, Qingxue, do you know the Juyun Temple? Ning Qingxue shook her head and said, I don't know Juyun Temple. What about it? Li Mumei said mysteriously, however, in Luotsong, they built a new temple called the Juyun Temple. It has the two mottos on the door, lost in the deep clouds, awaken at this temple. It means that if you have any questions you are confused about, you can burn some incense and worship the Buddha in this temple. I heard it's very real and is very popular online. I heard that the lead monk of this temple is called Wu Ming. He's a very capable monk. How about we go to this temple and burn some incense? Just think of it as a holiday trip. Ning Qingxue asked confusedly, a newly built temple is very popular? Would it be some intentional spin on the internet? Li Mumei shook her head and said, that I don't know, but I heard that an old monk in the temple said he attained Tao in Luotsong, so he built the temple in Luotsong. Ning Qingxue said nonchalantly, in that case, let's go see it. IVT's very close to Yu State. Luotsong. Compared to a year ago, this place seemed a lot more populous. Many people said it was due to the Juyun Temple. Ever since the Juyun Temple was built here a few months ago, the tourists here increased drastically. When Ning Qingshu and Li Mumei came here, they found it to be very busy indeed. It wasn't any inferior than Yu State, which was a big city. Juyun Temple was indeed very popular, and they had to line up to burn incense. Although it had only been built for half a year, a long street of incense and offering shops had been set up. It was very busy, and most tourists would come here to burn incense and then go into the temple and ask about their troubles or make a wish. Before they left, they would buy a few artifacts from here for good fortune. After the two had requested to burn incense, the line had reached all the way to outside the temple. In this era, there was actually no one cutting in line. They all had a pious look on their face. Was it really that powerful here? Ning Qingxue looked at this long line of people and felt dubious. An old man with a broom stopped by the two suddenly. Ning Qingxue looked at the old man in surprise. He was in his 70s but looked very strong. He glanced at Ning Qingxue once and closed his eyes. There seemed to be a lot of monks in this temple, but there really weren't many holding a broom like the 70-year-old monk. Just when Ning Qingxue and Li Mumei didn't know what this old monk was doing, this old monk suddenly opened his eyes and said, I am Wu Guang. You two honor patrons need not to line up. You can come in and make offerings with me. Li Mumei looked vigilantly at the old monk. Other people had to line up to burn incense. Why did they not have to line up? Qingxue looked so out of this world. Was this old monk scheming something? The old monk didn't seem to notice Li Mumei's eyes and just turned to leave after finishing. Ning Qingxue pulled Li Mumei. Let's go have a look. If we line up, we are going to wait for more than an hour. Li Mumei looked at the long line. They might not get to the front even in more than an hour. There were just too many people. Plus, this monk was so old that he couldn't have any bad intentions, right? The old monk took the two to the last Zen room. There was a Pusa painting in the room. The two couldn't recognize which Pusa it was. Master Wu Guang, didn't you say you were going to take us in to burning offerings? Why did you bring us here? Li Mumei was getting more vigilant. Wu Guang monk put the broom down and said Ai mi tuofo. Then, he said to Ning Qingxue, Patron, you have fortune with a master who enlightened me. So I wish to help you resolve your problems, but before that, I need to see the necklace artifact on you. Ning Qingxue grabbed the necklace and said, Master Wu Guang, are you talking about this? Ami tuofu. Wu Guang monk continued, Patron, you need not to take it down. I've confirmed it. Okay, you may talk about what confusions you have. Ning Qingxue looked at the Wu Guang monk in surprise. How did he know that it was she who needed help and they weren't just here to burn offerings? Li Mumei could also see that this old monk really seemed to know something. Before Ning Qingxue spoke, she intervened. A few months ago, Qingxue was unconscious due to an accident, and when she woke up, she lost years of memory, but everything of her was normal according to the hospital diagnosis. We wish to ask Master Wu Guang, can that memory be recovered? Ning Qingxue immediately supplemented, Yeah, I've searched some cases about lost memory. Most of them remember fragments, but how come I remember nothing? And Wu Guang monk sat on a cushion but didn't reply after hearing the two's words. Instead, he said, Patron, can you please tell me where you got this necklace? Ning Qingxue frowned. I don't remember where I got this necklace. If I do, I don't need to ask you. Have you cultivated ancient marital arts? Wu Guang asked, but then he shook his head. Even if she did, what could she have accomplished being so young? Looking at Wu Guang shaking his head after asking her that question, Ning Qingxue asked curiously, Master Wu Guang, I haven't cultivated ancient martial arts, but what has my memory got to do with cultivating ancient martial arts? Wu Guang nodded and said, Patron, you don't know. After people lose memory due to outside force, they indeed do retain fragments. Especially the things you have a deep impression of, these memories will return with time. But this is definite. There are some memories that cannot be recovered and will not retain any fragments. Ning Qingxue said confusedly, But I didn't feel anything at all. If the people around me didn't tell that I lost memories, I wouldn't even know. And I've seen many Western doctors and specialists say that even if you can't remember it yourself, with people constantly reminding you about things you have a deep impression of, you will still feel familiar about it. There shouldn't be no impression at all. Ami tuofo. The monk called out again and then said seriously, You encountered a strong force that caused chaos in your spirit. I shouldn't tell you this, but because you have a necklace made by a Qian Bei himself on you, and it's 10 times better than the best I have seen. What? Master Wu Guang, you say that this necklace is made by a Qian Bei of yours? Who is that Qian Bei? Ning Qingxue asked in shock. She saw that Wu Guang was already in his 70 foot. Wouldn't this Qian Bei be 100? Wu Guang didn't answer Ning Qingxue's question, however. He just continued, When one cultivates ancient martial arts to a certain degree, you can attain inner qi, and when you reach a rather high state with the threat of death, you will subconsciously use inner qi to envelope the most precious part of your soul and your most precious memories. These memories will show up in your next life. Although you can't remember it completely, you will have some vague impressions. Of course, the pretense is that no one intervenes. But if you didn't die and woke up instead, then this enveloped memory wouldn't be remembered. It may even disappear slowly, just like what is happening to you. Ning Qingxue dazed for some time before asking cluelessly, But I've never learned any ancient martial arts. I don't even know what inner qi is. How can it envelope my soul and memory? Wu Guang nodded. Ami tuofo, even if you cultivate ancient martial arts to a very high state, you wouldn't be able to do such thing, much less patron don't even know ancient martial arts. I've only heard that this action not only has requirements for power but also strict requirements for cultivation method. I also thought that a cultivation method capable of enveloping memories into reincarnation does not exist, but your situation is very similar to this case. Then Master Wu Guang, if that's the case, how do I recover my memory? Although Ning Qingxue knew that this wasn't the case for her, she still couldn't help asking. Wu Guang said, unless you cultivate this way again and reach at least the power state of the moment before you lost your memories, then your memories will recover automatically and your power will double up. But you may still remember nothing, but Wu Guang hesitated for a long time but eventually didn't continue. He said, 2 patrons please, I will be doing work now. Then he closed his eyes and stopped talking. Ning Qingxue and Li Mumei looked at each other dubiously and then bowed before exiting. After the two came out, they were still confused. What this old monk said seemed to be too metaphysical. Luo Xian looked at this haunted building she had been living in for a week and actually felt a little wistful about leaving. Although it was a short week, she had experienced a lot. It seemed that in the 2 years living at Chun and it wasn't as eventful as this week. What are you thinking? Let's go. Emo broke her thoughts. Luo Xian came back to her senses and nodded. Okay. Let's go. Luo Xian, do you know where Qiyang Mountain is located? Although Emo didn't know where Qiyang Mountain was, he believed that too many people would know and he only needed to ask. It was just like how he didn't know where Shenong Jia was, but he could find out by searching online. Luo Xian shook her head and looked at Emo strangely. I don't know you, brother. Do you not even know where you are going? I've been in Chun and for 2 years. Although I don't really go out, I heard most of the famous mountains in China. I've really never heard of Qiyang Mountain. I thought it was a place I haven't been. Emo thought. Was he tricked by Hongxi? But Hongxi's tone and attitude couldn't be lying too at the time. Because he was talking with this sister at the time, he actually didn't ask where the Qiyang Mountain was. It doesn't matter. I'll ask someone later and we'll know. Since it can have a hidden sect there, it must be a famous mountain. People would know. But then, Emo and Luo Xian asked many people and even searched on the web, but no one knew Qiyang Mountain. Luo Xian also asked in confusion, Yi brother, could that person have lied to you? Emo also said uncertainly, I don't think that person would trick me, but from what we've asked there, really doesn't seem to have a Qiyang Mountain. This is strange indeed. If he was really desperate, he could go to Beijing and ask Tan Jiao and Luan Qingfeng, but he didn't want to do that. First, the two might not be willing to tell, and Emo didn't want to see that arrogant Tan Jiao again. Even if he didn't ask those two, Zhang Zhihui would probably know about it. He can go ask Zhang Zhihui. Yi brother, where are you planning to go now? Luo Xian looked at Emo's face and knew they wouldn't be able to go to Qiyang Mountain. I want to go Ninghai first and ask someone I know about where it is. Emo was unhappy that his plan was stopped. From his perspective, Hongxi even shattered his own dantian. How could he lie to him on this? If it was just by himself, Emo would definitely step on the flying sword to Ninghai, but with Luo Xian now, that would cause too much attention during the day. And, with his current qi reserve, it would be very exhaustful to bring Luo Xian with him to Ninghai. Although she knew Emo could fly, Luo Xian didn't ask why Emo was taking the plane to Ninghai. Since Emo chose that, he must have his reasons. Although Chun'an Airport was very small, there was a lot of human traffic. When Emo and Luo Xian walked into the airport, it wasn't empty at all despite it being the morning. Yi brother, what are you looking at? Luo Xian followed Emo closely and noticed that Emo had his attention on this middle-aged woman reading newspaper as soon as he came in. Emo smiled. Luo Xian, did you see that woman next to the window reading the newspaper? Luo Xian nodded. I see her. What's wrong, Yi brother? Do you feel that person is familiar? Emo continued to ask. Luo Xian shook her head in bewilderment. I've never seen this person and I don't feel her to be familiar at all. But even so, Luo Xian still studied that woman carefully and was sure she didn't seem familiar. I'm sure you know her. That person is either your big martial sister or your second martial sister, because she is masqueraded. Emo said with certainty. It was because he felt a similar qi from this woman as he did with Luo Xian. This meant that their cultivation method was the same. Luo Xian also showed an expression of shock, but before she could talk, that middle-aged woman turned around. It seemed she noticed that Luo Xian was observing her. The moment she saw Luo Xian, she showed surprise and joy in her eyes, but it soon turned to worry. Although those eye expressions were very subtle, it fell clearly into Yi Mo's eyes, and he was more certain that this woman was related to Luo Xian. But as soon as this woman saw Luo Xian, she actually turned to leave. Luo Xian quickly followed without talking to Yi Mo. She was sure that this person was her big martial sister Luo Yin. Yi Mo didn't follow. He looked around and sure no one was stalking them before standing at the side waiting for Luo Xian. He was sure that woman was Luo Xian's big martial sister, and Luo Xian recognized her. If it was her second martial sister, Luo Xian will hesitate first and even ask him before going over. That woman came to a quiet corner and looked around waiting for Luo Xian to come over. She pulled Luo Xian over anxiously and asked, "Luo Xian, how can you appear at the airport without any masquerade? Do you not want to live? Big martial sister, is that really you?" Luo Xian exclaimed in joy and hugged this woman. Although she didn't say it, she had always been worried for her big martial sister. Now that she saw her, of course she was very elated. Luo Yin also felt relieved. She had been constantly worried for Luo Xian and now felt a lot more relieved seeing her. But immediately, she asked, "Luo Xian, who is that man next to you? You must not be like Luo Fei. If master knew that 2 out the 3 of us who came out lost our virginity, she will be very sad." Luo Xian's face blushed and immediately said, "Big martial sister, what are you saying? Your brother isn't like the sort of person you're thinking about. He's very nice. And he saved me many times. Even that lotus life pill I gave you last time was from him. Who is he? How does he have such precious pills? And why would he save you? A man being nice to a woman is definitely no good. Luo Xian, you must not trust a man." Luo Yin said vigilantly. "Big martial sister, Sai, even that Ni Luo Sutra was found with the help of Yi brother. How can you say that about him? Although I don't know if men are good or bad, but Yi brother is definitely a good person." Luo Xian immediately rebuked. Luo Yin looked at Luo Xian in shock and said after a moment, "Luo Xian, you have never rebutted my words before, but now for that Yi brother of yours, you have done so twice. Is that Yi brother really that good?" Luo Xian rubbed the edges of her clothes awkwardly and said, "Big martial sister, I really don't know how to explain it to you, but I believe him. He's not a bad person, and it was Yi brother who recognized you just then." "What? It wasn't you who recognized me? He has such capabilities. Has he seen me before?" Luo Yin immediately became more vigilant. Then, as though she suddenly thought of something, Luo Yin said worriedly, "Luo Xian, you said that Yi brother helped you find the Ni Luo Sutra and he recognized me. Then could it be him that night outside the Yinghua temple? Luo Xian, you're too young. Don't believe strangers' words." As she spoke, Luo Yin's face became more and more serious. The more she thought, the more she believed that perhaps the Yi guy followed Luo Xian to the Yinghua temple and then impostered as Luo Fei, stealing the Ni Luo Sutra, and then found Luo Xian later. "Big martial sister, don't think like that. Your brother isn't like that. Plus, even 1,000 Ni Luo Sutra wouldn't be worth anything in Yi brother's eyes, much less one. Big marital sister, please, I beg you stop saying bad things about Yi brother. He's a really good person. He's the best man I've ever met." In desperation, Luo Xian actually used the word man, but as soon as she said it, she noticed it and her face blushed. Luo Xian didn't want there to be any misunderstanding between her big martial sister and Yi Mo from the bottom of her heart. Big martial sister was the person she respected the most other than her master, while Yi brother was the person he admired the most. He saved her many times and was that nice to her. Plus, that Ni Luo pill wasn't worth anything to Yi brother. He could give the chi-increasing pill that was countless times more precious. Why would he care about a mere Ni Luo Sutra? Plus, Yi brother said the Ni Luo Sutra was useless to him, and the only valuable thing was the 2 golden paper, and she gave them to him. How could he still be interested in the Ni Luo Sutra? However, she could tell her big martial sister that. The made Luo Xian feel guilty for the first time because she hid something for her big martial sister for Yi Mo. Sigh. Luo Yin sighed but didn't see anything. She could tell that this little martial sister of hers is admiring ye brother to the bones. It was useless no matter what she said. It was just that from the bottom of her heart she wanted the person who tried to kill them to be someone else, even that ye brother rather than Luo Lin. How you always been with ye brother these few days? Luo Yin asked casually. She could tell that her martial sister was still a virgin. This meant that they didn't do something over the line. Luo Xian thought that she did stay in the same room with Yemo last night, and now that her martial sister asked, she felt embarrassed. Her face was even burning a little. Originally, she thought it was fine and Yemo didn't say anything, but now that her martial sister asked, she felt perhaps it wasn't so appropriate. Luo Yin could tell that if she didn't meet Luo Xian in time, it would only be a few days before Luo Xian also lost her virginity. Although she didn't like Yemo, she had to commend on Yemo's means. How long has it been, and even Luo Xian was so admiring of him. She was sure that Luo Xian met Yemo after moving into the new place. Looking at her martial sister's face, Luo Xian knew she misunderstood her again, so she could only say, "Big martial sister, we'll talk about this later. Your brother is still waiting for me over there. Let's go over first." Luo Xian, tell me, if you didn't meet me, where were you going? Luo Yin asked seriously. Luo Xian peeked at her martial sister's face and said without much confidence, "Originally, ye brother was going to Ninghai and I was going with him, then, she thought about it for a long time and eventually didn't say that she was going with Yemo to the He Lu sect to kill people. If she said this, perhaps her martial sister would rage immediately. Okay, now you don't need to go anywhere since we met up. Come back with me immediately," Luo Yin said decisively. But, Luo Xian hesitated before looking back at Yemo and then said, "But martial sister, I've already promised you brother I'll be going with him." Luo Yin immediately interrupted Luo Xian's words. "No, Luo Xian, you must come back with me. So many things happened this time, and Luo Lin is already with that Qi Yulin. If something happens to you again, what would master do?" Luo Xian said pitifully. "Big martial sister, ye brother was tricked before and he lost his love. If I go back on what I promised him, he would be tricked again. So, you're still denying that you're not in a relationship with him. What's his losing love got to do with you? You need to comfort him? As time goes on, you can replace that woman who tricked him, right? No more so's, we must go back. This isn't just about you and him, it's also about the Ni Luo Sutra. Do you know how important the Ni Luo Sutra is to our sect? Now that we found the book, we must get news back immediately to prevent more people outside from knowing," Luo Yin said seriously. "Big martial sister, are you preparing to go back now?" Luo Xian didn't dare to say much after her big martial sister mentioned the sect. Seeing Luo Yin nodded, Luo Xian fell into silence. After a while, she said while looking at the ground, "Then big martial sister, I'll give ye brother a notice. Go quickly. I'll go buy the plane ticket." Then Luo Yin also headed towards the ticket window. Yemo saw the two discuss for nearly half an hour before Luo Xian came back. He could guess some of the things that was about to happen. "Ye brother." Luo Xian came over and said with difficulty. She didn't know how to break it to Yemo. She said that she would follow where Yemo went, but now she was going to go back on her words. Yemo immediately understood what was going on and smiled. "Is your big martial sister telling you to go back?" "But I already promised ye brother to go with you to the He Lu sect," Luo Xian said guiltily. Yemo waved his hand and said, "Then go back quickly. You know about my power, so if fate brings us together again, we'll meet in the future." But, Luo Xian said a few buts. She really wanted to stay with Yemo and go around. If she goes back, she wouldn't be able to come out again. And she felt very comfortable staying with Yemo, and everything she wanted to was successful. She had been looking for the Ni Luo Sutra for 2 years, and as soon as Yemo came, he helped her solve the problem. Yemo felt the dependence Luo Xian had for him. He thought about Yiling and Tang Beiwei and subconsciously rubbed Luo Xian's head. Luo Xian's face blushed. She didn't expect Yemo to do this, but she didn't move. She actually quite liked it. "No buts, go back with your big martial sister. She's right. The Anai Luo Sutra is very important to your sect. Go back and cultivate. Emo also quite liked this smart yet very innocent Luo Xian. He thought of when she nervously went to the 9th floor to catch the ghost and when her face when she gave him the chi recovery pill with worry. She even promised him and closed her eyes and jumped off the building. Thinking about all that, Emo actually felt a little disappointed she was leaving. Yi brother, will I be able to see you again? Luo Xian saw Yemo's expression and suddenly remembered Yemo's lonely face last night and felt guilty. She was almost about to say, I can stay back with you. Although she knew that after this departure, she would never be able to see him again. She still couldn't resist asking the question. Emo came to his sense and his face returned to normal. He took out the last chi-increasing pill and 10s of fireball charms and gave it to Luo Xian. These things don't have much use to me. You can keep that to reach Earth level. And these charms, I made them. You can throw them at your opponents, you only need to say the word Lin. Luo Xian took the things Emo gave him and said helplessly, Yi brother, I can't take this pill. It's too precious. Take it. If I need it, I can make it any time. As for whether or not we can see each other again, that's not important. After I'm done with my things, perhaps I will go there. Your big martial sister is here. I'm going. Emo turned to leave. He knew that Luo Xian's big martial sister doubted him, so he didn't want to see her. Luo Xian suddenly said, Yi brother, wait. Luo Xian took out a small jade bottle from her pocket carefully and gave it to Emo. Yi brother, there's only 3 chi recovery pills here, keep them. Emo took the jade bottle. It was because of these pills that he truly understood Luo Xian. Seeing Emo disappear from her sight, for the first time, Luo Xian disconsolate. She had this unexplainable feeling of lost and sadness in her heart. She knew that Emo wouldn't be able to get into the small world at all. Luo Xian, do you like him? Luo Yin suddenly appeared beside Luo Xian and looked at Emo and asked. Luo Xian was shocked awake. She quickly put the things in her hands into her pocket and said with a bursting red face, Martial sister, what are you talking about? Yi brother has someone he likes, and I'm a Dao cultivator. After a while, as though asking her martial sister or as though asking herself, can we meet again? Luo Yin smiled. Luo Xian, you gave your most chi recovery pills to him, and you're still going to say you don't like him? Perhaps the most precious wasn't the chi recovery pill but that jade bottle. Martial sister, you saw it? Luo Xian's face was blushed, but it was more due to longing and sadness. Luo Yin sighed. Let's go, Luo Xian. We're not of the same world as him. You're right. You won't be able to meet again even if he's from the outer hidden sections. Some things are best left aside. If you think about it too much, you will hurt your spirit. And the things he gave you, don't let Master see when we go back or she will be disappointed. I know, Martial's sister. Luo Xian looked down. She knew that Emo would not be able to enter the small world even if he knew the entrance no matter how strong he was. And after she went in, she wouldn't be able to come back out. Even if she could, it would be 50 years later. 50 years, how many 50 years can a person live? A rumble sounded. A white passenger jet shot into the blue sky, disappearing amongst the clouds. Luo Xian could no longer control her emotions as her tears splashed on the stony ground, but the mark disappeared quickly. Luo Yin sighed and held Luo Xian's hand. Just like your tears on the ground, he will disappear quickly. Let us go, Luo Xian. Emo saw Luo Xian and her martial sister get on the plane and ensured there were no masters following, before turning to leave Chun an airport. Half an hour later, Emo appeared at Ninghai. He packed away the flying sword and called a taxi, returning to that house he lived at with Ning Qingxue. Standing at the door, Emo actually felt empty. His spirit sense immediately scanned that Su Wei wasn't there. Did she move away? Her room was empty. There was nothing. Seemed she really moved away. Emo opened the door, lost in thought as he walked in. There were many leaves on the ground in the yard, obviously. There hadn't been anyone to manage the garden for a long time. Only that silver heart grass on the flower pot barely survived, but its dry leaves showed that no one had been caring for it for a long time. Emo silently walked to the flower pot and touched the silver heart grass with his hand gently. As though feeling something, the grass seemed a little more alive. Emo took out a bottle of water and tipped it around the silver heart grass. The water soon seeped in. At this moment, a voice sounded from outside. "Who's back? Can I come in?" Emo scanned his spurt sense out and thought strangely, why would she be back? Emo was sitting on the flower pot, but he stood up now. He looked at the woman who came in and asked, "Jingwen, why did you come?" "I just came back as well." Su Jingwen seemed more fatigued and stressed than a year ago. She was pleasantly surprised when she found that the person in the yard was actually Emo. "Emo, it's actually you? I thought it was Su Wei coming back." Emo smiled. "Jingwen, long time no see. You seem not quite well recently. By the way, did Su Wei move away?" Su Jingwen heard the first part of the sentence and her face immediately became dull. But after hearing Emo ask about Su Wei, she immediately turned around and replied, "Yeah, Su Wei has been gone for a long time. Every time I come past here, I would always think you or Xianxia would come back. Today, I saw the door seemed to be open, so I came to ask. I didn't think you really came back. I thought I was dreaming." Hearing about Xianxia, Emo's face also went dull, and after a moment, he asked, "Jingwen, have you ever seen Xianxia? Did she come back to live here?" Although he knew that Xianxia probably wouldn't come back, Emo still couldn't resist to ask. The reason he didn't go to Shenzhen first and instead came back to Ninghai was because deep in his heart, he hoped that Xianxia had come back, but the reality was she didn't. Even the silver heart grass she was taking care of died. There was a sliver of disappointment in Su Jingwen's eyes. Just then, when Emo said she didn't seem to be doing too well, she actually felt happy because he cared about her. But quickly, he asked about Su Wei and Xianxia. It was as though she just came here to pass on a message. But soon, Su Jingwen set right her mentality. She was only normal friends with Emo, and Emo saved her mother's and her life. Now that Emo asked about Xianxia, Su Jingwen still replied despite feeling a little disappointed and hurt. "Xianxia went back to U-State after getting hurt on the streets in Ninghai last time. She never came back again. I called Li Mumei saying that I wanted to visit her. Li Mumei told me that Xianxia seemed to have lost some of her memories, but Xianxia's mother doesn't want her to remember anything. So, although Su Jingwen didn't say why, Emo could guess it. It was that Xianxia's mother was scared she would remember things after seeing Su Jingwen. So her mother stopped everyone Xianxia knew in Ninghai to go see her. Su Jingwen did know something about Xianxia. Li Mumei told her. It was probably that after the incident, Xianxia forgot the time she stayed with Emo. Seeing Emo's disappointed eyes, Su Jingwen sighed. That student in her eyes before became a mature man, a man troubled by love. At the moment when Su Jingwen saw Emo's disappointed eyes, she actually had this feeling in her heart. Perhaps it was because Xianxia didn't love Emo that deep. If she did, she would have some impressions of him, no matter how little it was. Emo suddenly thought that he still hadn't asked what was wrong with Su Jingwen since she came here. This was not very polite. Emo quickly asked, "Jingwen, I just got back and the house is a bit messy. Is there anything I can do for you?" "Oh, Emo, are you free now?" Su Jingwen came to her sense and quickly asked. Emo nodded. I do." Su Jingwen immediately said, "I want to invite you to food. Is that fine?" Emo smiled. "Of course. If I don't have much money on me, it should be me inviting you. You've already treated me to food once." Su Jingwen's face immediately brightened up. "Let's go. My car is just outside." Hearing Su Jingwen's words, he immediately knew that Su Jingwen probably didn't happen to drop by here, but came here intentionally. This definitely wasn't her first time. She might have been doing this every day. Su Jingwen's car had this faint aroma, similar to her body smell. Could be seen that she really liked the smell. Just when Emo closed the car door, Su Jingwen turned around and said, "Emo, how about we go to Westlake Restaurant again?" "How?" Emo immediately remembered that elegant and voluptuous Fong sister and the dishes with the same price for everything, as well as the moment when he first ate with Su Jingwen. I really like the tea Fong sister makes. Let's go there." Emo nodded in agreement. Su Jingwen started her car and didn't go far before her phone rung. Su Jingwen picked up the phone and looked at the number. She frowned and hung up. However, her actions seemed to be of no use as her phone rung again. Emo said, Jingwen, let's swap. You sit here and I'll drive. MHM. Su Jingwen stopped the car and swapped seats with Emo. When her soft and plump butt passed by Emo reacted to it down there. Luckily, it was very short. Emo felt a little awkward. He realized that he didn't have the self-control he thought he did in these things. He even thought of that deep ravine on Ning Qingshua's chest at the bottom of the Shinongjia cliff. Emo shook his head and cleared his thought, focusing on driving. Although she pretended nothing happened, Su Jingwen's face blushed a little. Putting these things aside, Su Jingwen answered the phone. Cousin? What do you want? Oh, I'm outside with a friend now. I don't have time to go. You can go by yourself. At night? Sorry, I don't have time at night either. I'm hanging up. Emo didn't ask about it. If Su Jingwen had something, she will tell him. Since he didn't need to ask. It suddenly became silent in the vehicle. As though feeling this awkward silence, Su Jingwen suddenly said, Emo, you are that master who sold me the charms, right? Thank you. You saved my mother and you saved me. Emo also guessed that Su Jingwen probably recognized him, so he didn't deny. Although she knew that Emo was the person who sold her the charms, Su Jingwen was still very excited when Emo admitted it to her. It really is you. Thank you, Emo. And thank you for the bracelet you made for me last time. Emo just realized that Su Jingwen was wearing the coarse bracelet with 2 beads. Last time, he saw Ning Qingshu have 3 beads. It was probably given to her by Su Jingwen. He immediately thought about the bracelet he told Ning Qingshu to bring over. So he asked, Jingwen, last time I asked Qingshu to bring you a bracelet. How come you didn't wear it? Emo was curious as that latter bracelet was much better than the current one. Why did Su Jingwen wear the bad one and put away the good one? Su Jingwen hesitated before saying, I like this one. Did you give the other for me? I'll go back and wear it on the other hand then. Emo nodded and didn't say anything. It was her business that which one she liked. Are you coming back to live in Ninghai? Su Jingwen saw that Emo seemed to have something in his mind constantly, so she asked. No, I'm finding a friend to ask where the Qiyang Mountain is. I'm just passing by Ninghai. Emo said. Qiyang Mountain? Su Jingwen repeated strangely. Seeing that Su Jingwen's tone seemed to be a little strange, he asked immediately, Jingwen, you've heard of the Qiyang Mountain? Su Jingwen quickly shook her head and said, No, I don't know about it, but I saw some pictures online last week. Someone went to tour at Mount Kunlun and found a black plate. The plate had the words Qiyang in traditional Chinese characters. Emo thought and quickly asked, Is it just these 2 words? Su Jingwen shook her head and replied, No. One of them is Qiyang Shadow Cliff. The other is He Lu Thousand River. So it was in the Mount Kunlun region. Seemed he still needed to ask Zhang Zhihui. They were about to arrive at Westlake Restaurant, and Emo suddenly turned the car and followed a black Audi. He saw on his Audi a youth and felt his spirit sense marker again. This marker was the one he made on the goo bug. The goo was on Chunqing and he didn't expect to feel it this quick again. Su Jingwen quickly said, Emo, the Westlake Restaurant isn't this way. Emo just realized Su Jingwen was still on the car and said apologetically, Sorry, Jingwen. I just saw a very important person. I forgot this was your car. How about I get off the car first, and after I'm done with this, I'll treat you to food. Although Su Jingwen wasn't too happy, she still said, Why are you getting off? Can't I go with you? Okay, but this is purely personal. I'm afraid it will cause trouble for you. As Emo spoke, he noticed that car stopped by a bar called Wei Xian. Everyone knew what people did at bars. One rarely went there purely for drink, so Emo had some concerns bringing Su Jingwen in. Wait, Emo, I see that everyone who goes in here needs a membership card. We don't have one. How do we go in? Su Jingwen was very meticulous. She followed Emo into the door and noticed that everyone in this Wei Xian had this membership card. Emo turned back and smiled. It's fine. I have one. Then, He pulled out a card exactly the same as the person before him. Su Jingwen's face changed and seemed to have thought of something but eventually didn't say it and just nodded. Indeed, when Yemo used the card at the door, the person didn't stop them. Instead, he bowed and led them in. "I'll have room 207. Yemo's spirit sense found the target in room 205 and two women seemed to have been brought in. 207 and 205 were right next to each other. The two went in the room. Yemo sent off the waitress and hung the "Do Not Disturb" sign on the door. Seeing Yi Missouri close the door, Su Jingwen's heart started beating faster. Of course she knew what people usually did here. She even heard whining from one door. Didn't Yemo say he was following someone? Why did he bring her here? And this room seemed to have an intimate atmosphere. Even being with Yemo, Su Jingwen felt a little uneasy. Yemo's spirit sense immediately scanned the situation but couldn't hear any sound. He was prepared to direct the sound into the room when he turned around and saw Su Jingwen, who seemed a little anxious. He immediately understood why she was so nervous. If it was just him entering this room and closing the door, people would suspect him. If he found someone he didn't know, he couldn't let them know what he was doing. Thinking about this, he said apologetically to Su Jingwen, "Sorry, Jingwen, for inconveniencing you like this, but the person I'm following today is very important, so I need to know what they are doing at Ninghai." Su Jingwen's face eased up and fixed her hair and smiled. "It's fine. I don't have anything on anyways." After hesitating for a long time, she finally seemed to have made up her mind and asked, "Yemo, did you always come here frequently before?" Yemo dazed and replied, "No, this is my first time here today. What's wrong?" Su Jingwen's eyes brightened up and asked immediately, "But how do you have this VIP card? I never saw you apply for it." Yemo suddenly understood Su Jingwen's meaning. She must not like such facilities and thought he came here frequently. Yemo immediately smiled and said, "When we came in, weren't there two people who happened to leave? I borrowed it from the person who passed me. So that was it." Su Jingwen suddenly breathed easy but immediately felt shocked. When Yemo came with her, he didn't stop at all, but he could still take someone's VIP card. This was too unbelievable. They just brushed past each other. How short was that time interval? But thinking about Yemo's master identity, she understood. And that little sliver of discomfort deep in her heart disappeared. However, she immediately thought, why would she be unhappy if Yemo came here a lot? Su Jingwen looked at Yemo again, and Yemo was already standing at the corner. He had a small dagger in his hand and it cut into the wall like tofu. After a brief moment, the conversation next door passed in. However, the conversation wasn't normal. It seemed to be the dirty talk between two men and women. Heavy breathing and whining sounded. Su Jingwen's face was red as an apple. Even her neck turned pink. She looked at Yemo. Yemo's concentration didn't seem to be distracted at all. Her heart shook. Did Yemo like to hear this whining sound? But seeing Yemo's serious face, she knew that that wasn't the case. It must be due to something else. Yemo was indeed noticing these two men who just walked in. One of them had the spirit sense marked Gu on him, but Yemo couldn't understand why they wanted women as soon as they came in. They didn't even talk but were so focused into their business. If his spirit sense mark wasn't there, he really would have thought he followed the wrong person. After a few minutes, the brawl ended and then the two girls were sent away. They put on their clothes and started drinking beer. Yemo suddenly smelled this faint aroma and remembered that Su Jingwen was here. Thinking about the noise just then, he felt apologetic. He should have opened the sound later. "Sorry, Jingwen. I didn't expect that to happen just then," Yemo said awkwardly. Su Jingwen, with a bursting red face, glared at Yemo. She didn't even say "it's fine." It meant that she was really angry. Seeing Yemo's troubled state, Su Jingwen took back her glare and then said, "Only this time. Next time I won't forgive you." Yemo finally felt relieved a little. He wouldn't be with her next time for sure. This time was just a coincidence. "I know you're not trying to listen to that. What are you trying to listen to?" Su Jingwen suddenly came up beside Yemo, making Yemo remember her soft ass on the car. Coupled with the scene he just saw, his heart couldn't help to sway. As though feeling Yimo's unsul eyes and the heat from his body, Su Jingwen immediately rolled her eyes on Yimo. You're not allowed to think dirty. Even if you do, think about your Xianxia, don't think about me. Hearing about Xianxia, Yimo's heart went cold. That hot feeling went away immediately. Even his eyes went sad. Su Jingwen immediately regretted after saying it. Why did she have to mention Ning Xianxia? Yimo's change in expression couldn't escape Su Jingwen's meticulous eyes. She found that Yimo had become cold and indifferent. Those romancing eyes disappeared without a trace. Sorry, I didn't mean it. Su Jingwen felt more regret for her words and moved closer to Yimo. Yimo smiled. It's fine. I lost track of my thoughts. Thanks for reminding me. Although Yimo had regained his composure, when Su Jingwen moved close to Yimo, she felt that yang and refreshing chi from Yimo's body and actually felt a little lost like Yimo just then. She forgot she was getting closer and closer to Yimo. Yimo looked at Su Jingwen and knew that she probably felt regret for her words just then, but he didn't mind it that much now. The two people next door, one only had one eye. Although both of his eyes looked normal under the scan of spirit sense, one eye seemed dull. Other than the one eye, the other was a robust youth. This youth was more than 1.9 m and the goo was on this youth. Hanzai, are you feeling better now? The one eye looked at the robust youth and said plainly. The robust youth nodded. Yes, ninth uncle. I feel a lot more easy now. And that feeling of worry and fear disappeared. The one-eyed smiled. The first time I killed, I was worse than you. At that time, it was an earth-red Qian Bei taking me to find a woman to relax. Then, each time I kill, I need to find a woman to relax. This is your first time killing. You will get used to it. You just joined the organization and you were assigned to Human Yellow. This means the uppers look highly of you. Hanzai agreed and continued to ask, Ninth uncle, is the Qian Bei who led you heaven-level killer? One Eye shook his head. After he reached Earth Purple, there was no news of him again. I heard his last mission was in Africa and after that, no one has heard of him again. Is that Qian Bei living in hiding? After we reach heaven-level killer, we can choose our own life. Hanzai said with longing. One Eye waved his hand and said, We'll talk about this after we go back. We should talk about our next target now. Only us two came to Ninghai this time. If we do things well, we may rank up. You might even rank up 2 levels. Hanzai nodded and listened to One Eye's instructions. One Eye took out a map. We've been to the house Yimo lives at. There's no one living there. But there are really quite some people who are familiar with Yimo in Ninghai. One of them is a teacher called Yunbing in Ninghai Uni. I heard she's pretty close to Yimo and she has a kid too. This kid is our target tonight. There's also another woman called Su Jingwen. She's also close with Yimo and is also the other target of tonight. Hanzai nodded and said, Now I understand the terror of offending us Earth Fiend. I don't know who this Yimo is, but he dares to act against the Earth Fiend. Then Hanzai shook his head. One Eye said seriously, however, Hanzai, don't worry about that. Our mission is to kill. Whoever our uppers tells us to kill, we kill. Don't even mention other things. Okay? Su Jingwen froze. She even forgot she was almost on Yimo. Yimo looked apologetically at Su Jingwen and said, Sorry, Jingwen. I brought this on you this time. These people have big feud with me. They are like mad dogs. Whoever offends them, they will annihilate. I just didn't expect that they won't even let go of the friends I know. Hearing Yimo's words, Su Jingwen suddenly realized that she was just normal friends with Yimo and they were going after her. What tragedy would happen to Yimo's close friends and relatives? Yimo, your family in Beijing and Xianxia. Yimo knew what she meant. Yimo smiled. They won't have a chance at the latest tonight. I will pull this organization from the roots. Seeing Yimo smiling with killing intent, Su Jingwen's heart shook. She had never seen this side of Yimo. He actually had such intense killing intent. Perhaps she never really understood who Yimo was and only saw one facet of him this whole time. I'm fine. Don't worry. What should we do now? Su Jingwen looked worriedly at Yimo. Although she didn't know who One Eye and Hanzai were, she could tell that they belonged to an extremely strong organization. Emo stood up. Let's go and have a chat with next door. Su Jingwen looked in surprise. We're going to them now? Yes, we go now. I'll collaborate with them. Emo nodded and said, but they are all killers. How can they collaborate with us? Su Jingwen looked at Emo in confusion. They will. Then, Emo stood up and brought Su Jingwen out of the room. Jingwen, how are you here? You! At the same time Emo opened his room, the door opposite to them, 206, also opened. A handsome youth with his arms around a girl whose face was still red came out, and the instant he saw Su Jingwen, his face was full of shock. Su Jingwen also dazed and after a moment called, Wei Zheng cousin? How come you are here? That handsome youth almost couldn't believe his eyes. After a long time he reacted and his face went green. He pointed at Su Jingwen with his finger and said, Jingwen, you actually opened a room here with a man. How shameless are you? You? Su Jingwen never thought the cousin who had always been nice and amicable to her became so hideous. He actually pointed at her face and called her shameless. She said angrily, Xiaoweizhen, what's my being here got to do with you? Who are you to me? Aren't you here with another woman yourself? What right do you have to talk about me? You! Xiaoweizhen felt so fury. Thinking about the woman who he had thought about for many years was being slept by another man. He could no longer control himself. I'm a man. I have some entertainments, so what? It's just for fun on occasion. But you are so shameless coming here with another man. Xiaoweizhen was irate. In his mind, Su Jingwen belonged to him. No one else could touch her. But now, he even didn't get a chance to touch her, but someone else got in bed with her first. Su Jingwen looked at Xiaoweizhen, who had lost his mind. After a moment, she calmed down. She suddenly reached out her hand and grabbed Emo's arm and stuck closely to him and said plainly to Xiaoweizhen, Xiaoweizhen, I didn't say anything about your entertainments. You are you, I am me. Am I related to you? What right do you have to tell me what to do? I like booking hotels with other people. What's that got to do with you? I love Emo, so what? Su Jingwen was soft on the outside but tough on the inside. Once she was angered, she wouldn't care about anyone or anything. Plus, to Su Jingwen, Xiaoweizhen overreacted way too much. Okay. I thought you were very busy. You said you had things with your friend, so this was the thing? You shameless woman. Even if you want it, can't you tell me? Can I not satisfy you? Xiaoweizhen was almost going crazy with jealousy. He walked up a few steps towards Su Jingwen and slapped with his hand. Su Jingwen, who had calmed down already, was triggered again by Xiaoweizhen. She really didn't think that her cousin would be this crazy when he got angry. He had no sense of reason at all. Emo heard they were cousins, so he didn't intervene, but now that Xiaoweizhen was going to hit her, he wasn't going to keep watching. Before Xiaoweizhen's hand reached Su Jingwen, Emo already grabbed his wrist and slapped a few palms back. Then he kicked. Xiaoweizhen was slapped so hard that his mouth was full of blood and a few teeth fell out. Then he was kicked back into the room. The sound of him crashing into the ground could even be heard outside. That woman with Xiaoweizhen screamed and quickly rushed inside to check up on Xiaoweizhen. Su Jingwen was shaking with anger. Her face was pale and couldn't say anything in a long time. Emo sent some qi into Su Jingwen's body to help her calm down. Sorry, Emo, I don't feel too comfortable. I'm going back. Su Jingwen calmed down and looked apologetically at Emo. Emo quickly said, It's fine. Go back. I'll be fine by myself. I caused this to you today. Don't say sorry. Su Jingwen suddenly looked up at Emo and seemingly wanted to say something, but eventually didn't say anything. She turned and left. Emo followed Su Jingwen with his spirit sense until she got on the car and left. Then he shook his head helplessly. Su Jingwen's cousin was too much of a douchebag. But then, Emo cast these thoughts aside and knocked the door on 205. Who is it? We don't need any service here. One Eye's coarse voice sounded. Emo suddenly pushed open the door and looked at the two who were in shock and said plainly, You don't need service, but I do. Who are you? How did you open this door? One Eye looked at Emo in shock. He clearly locked the door, but how was Emo able to open it? The sensitivity to danger of being a long-term killer immediately surged up. In the twinkling of an eye, he had a black pistol in his hand. Han's eye also looked at Emo with vigilance while a triangular small spear appeared in his hand. Emo didn't seem to see their actions at all, nor look at the pistol in One Eye's hand. He just walked in and sat down. After sitting down, Emo looked calmly at One Eye. "You're called Ninth Uncle, right? I'm coming to save your life today, but if you don't listen, I don't mind sending you to hell. You're asking to die." Ferocity flashed across One Eye's eye as he raised his pistol instantly and fired. Emo suddenly raised his hand as well, and at almost the same moment One Eye fired, he caught a bullet with his 2 fingers and his face went cold. "If you dare to fire a second shot, I don't mind embedding this clip into your forehead. You caught a bullet with your hand." One Eye's tone became shaky. Even his hand was shaking. He heard that some ancient martial arts masters could catch bullets with bare hands. But this youth who was this close to him, only a few meters, not only caught the bullet but with 2 fingers. Even ancient martial arts masters can't do that? Is he still human? Emo flicked his fingers and the bullet flew by almost along One Eye's ear, shooting into the wall behind him. Just when One Eye was more shocked, Emo's cold voice sounded. "If I want to kill you, it's only a matter of 1 finger. If you still want to live, I suggest you not to move. My patience isn't that good. I won't forgive you the second time." Crank. One Eye's pistol fell on the ground. He actually lost his will to fight. He was a killer. What sort of people hadn't he seen before? What could make him lost his will to fight? But this youth in front of him rendered him shaking, feeling that the youth was undefeatable. He had a feeling that no matter what tricks he had, they were all useless in front of this person. He would die as soon as he tried anything. Who was this person? When did he offend such a person? Han's eye also looked at Emo in shock. His weapon also slunk. Emo catching the bullet electrocuted him too much. Was this something humans did? Qian Bei. You. One Eye felt that this person seemed familiar. He looked like that Emo on the picture he was shown, but this was too shocking that he didn't dare to believe. If Emo was such a terrifying person, wouldn't it be suicide trying to kill people related to him? "I'm Emo, the person you want to kill." Emo smiled plainly. His tone was extremely plain. They both felt hopeless. If this terrifying person in front of them was Emo, then they had no chance of living at all today. The One-Eyed suddenly gritted his teeth. This person in front of him was indeed Emo. He didn't expect Emo to be such a potent being. If Emo wanted to kill him and Han's eye, they wouldn't be able to escape no matter what tricks they played, but he still had a sliver of hope. It was that Emo wasn't going to kill them but negotiate with them. Otherwise, with his skills, he would have long killed him and Han's eye. "Yi Qian Bei, I know the gap between us is big. In your eyes, perhaps I'm not even an ant. If you have any requests, please tell us, but if you want us to betray the Earth Fiend, then just kill me." One-Eyed gritted his teeth. Either way, it was going to be death, so he might as well be straightforward. Emo said calmly, "You don't dare to betray Earth Fiend only because of your family or the goo bug that makes your fear." One-Eyed looked at Emo in shock. After a long time, he breathed out slowly. "How do you know we have goo bugs in our bodies?" Goo bug was a mean for the Earth Fiend to control their subordinates. One-Eyed had seen with his own eye that an Earth Fiend killer was caught back after betraying the organization. Then, the goo bug ate his flesh for 3 days and 3 nights. At that time, the flesh of that killer was almost eaten up, but he was still howling and wasn't dead. Ever since then, he had the belief that no matter what, he must not betray the organization. Emo smiled. "Let's not talk about the goo bug in your body first. What I want to say to you is, do you know your final ending?" Han's eye glanced once at One-Eyed and suddenly intervened. "As long as we reach Heaven rank killer, we are free, so my goal is Heaven rank." Emo laughed and immediately said coldly, "Let's not say whether you can live to reach Heaven rank, but even if you do, that would be the end of your life. You should know of the Goo King, right? He controls you people with the goo bugs. This kind of goo bug will devour the life force and essence blood of the person you kill and digest it in your body." "So what?" One-Eyed shivered at Emo's words but said without willing to back down. Emo shook his head. No biggie. It's just that after you reach heaven rank killer, the goo bug in your body will have matured and his final feast would be the life force and essence blood in your body. Of course, after consuming you, it has finished its task and they can be taken by your head, that goo king, to cultivate evil ways. You're bullshitting. One-Eyed shook in terror. He even knew that Emo wasn't bullshitting but couldn't help denying it verbally. Emo sneered. I'm not bullshitting. You know it yourself. Tell me, have you really ever seen any heaven rank killer? You definitely won't be able to see one because they have been used as cultivate resource. It's that simple. Are you saying that the more laurels and honor we get, the closer to death we are? Hanzai asked shakily. He subconsciously felt that Emo was right, very right. What do you think? Emo didn't explain anymore and asked rhetorically. After long, One-Eyed sighed. I've been suspecting it for a long time. Why was there not a single heaven rank killer? If they really were going to be free, they should let all the killers know. After all, we would have a goal to work for, but I've never heard of a single freed heaven rank killer. Now hearing Qian Bei's words, I believe Qian Bei's words are true. Ninth uncle, this. Hanzai also looked at One-Eyed in shock. He was speechless. After a moment of silence, One-Eyed looked at Emo and said, Yi Qian Bei, I know it's very easy to kill us for you. I don't know why you don't kill us and still tell us the truth. We're very grateful for you, but we can't betray the organization. So if you're going to kill us, please do it fast. Ayang Jiu will be very grateful. Emo said calmly. If I was going to kill you guys would have been dead bodies long ago. Would I need to waste time talking with you? But I said we can't betray the organization. One-Eyed struggled. It's because you have the goo bugs in your bodies? Emo looked at One-Eyed. One-Eyed decided to brawl and stood up. Yes, it's because of the goo bugs in our bodies. Qian Bei, you haven't seen these goo bugs before and you don't know how terrifying they can be. I would rather die immediately than betray the organization. What if I can get the goo bugs out of your bodies? Emo said plainly. What? Qian Bei, you really can get them out? One-Eyed looked at Emo in astonishment. Then, he immediately followed. Yi Qian Bei, if you can really take the goo bugs out of our bodies, my life will be yours. Then One-Eyed knelt down on one knee. His expression was not only genuine but determined. Hanzai looked once at One-Eyed. Although he was bulky, it didn't mean he was dumb. He knew that if he didn't show his stance right now, he would be dead for sure. And he never felt a sense of belonging with Earth Fiend. Thinking about this, Hanzai also knelt beside One-Eyed without hesitation. Who was the person you killed before? Emo asked One-Eyed. He's a merchant from Macau in Ninghai. One-Eyed didn't even finish and was stopped by Emo. He was no longer interested. Then Emo grabbed Hanzai's arm. He swiped with his hand and a yellow goo bug appeared in his hand. He was already middle-stage chi gathering now, and it was too easy for him to pick out a goo bug. One-Eyed and Hanzai looked at the goo bug in Emo's hands in shock. They didn't think that such a terrifying thing was taken out by Emo in such a brief moment. The organization dared to kill someone like him. But immediately One-Eyed rejoiced. The stronger Emo was, the happier he was. Emo squeezed the bug and said, I took out this bug from Chun Qing and let it out. Still marked by me. Where do you think you guys can go? Hearing Emo's words, One-Eyed sweated cold sweat on his back. Emo was already waiting for the Earth Fiend people to fall into his trap. And how funny it is that they dared to come kill Emo. Although the goo bug in One-Eyed was a little more troublesome, Emo only spent less than 30 seconds and took it out from One-Eyed. Seeing Emo take out the two bugs and put them into 2 jade boxes and pack them away to some unknown place, One-Eyed felt his skin having goosebumps. The only feeling in his heart was, this Emo was so terrifying. How many of you came to Ninghai? Emo took out the goo bug and then asked. One-Eyed replied respectfully, Yi Qian Bei, there are 3 of us in total. Other than me and Hanzai, there's one more, but he's waiting for our news. After we finish our mission, we will go to Beijing together. Emo nodded and said, You too. Make an oath that you must not betray me. Although One-Eyed and Hanzai had said that they would be loyal to him, That was due to the Yimo's threat. Yimo couldn't trust the two completely, so the oath was necessary. Other people can think of oath as a joke, but Yimo could make it become true. After the two made the oaths, Yimo quickly took out a drop of essence blood between the eyebrows of each of them and made them into 2 restrictions before sending them back. If they were cultivators, they would be able to get rid of the restrictions by cultivation quickly. But One-Eyed and Hanzai were ordinary people, so no way for them to dispel the restrictions. Although they saw Yimo's action, the two didn't dare to move at all. After the two made their oaths and he finished making the restrictions, Yimo then said, "Now, go find that companion of yours immediately. Qian Bei. Are we going to take him here for Qian Bei to remove the goo bug?" Hanzai asked immediately. Yimo sneered. "Remove the goo? Do you think I'm a philanthropist? I only need you two to lead the way. As for the other person, kill him immediately, the faster the better. I don't want to wait a long time, but you must use this charm. When you see him, throw it over and say Lin." The reason Yimo gave the two a fireball charm was because he knew that if they didn't use the charm to kill, that goo bug would escape. Once it did, that goo king would be able to know very quickly. Of course, another reason was to intimidate the two. Hanzai still wanted to say something, but One-Eyed replied immediately, "Yes, Qian Bei, we'll go immediately." One-Eyed felt shock and fear. If Yimo chose the other person, then they would be finished now. It was now he realized Yimo's decisiveness in killing, and he also knew why Yimo told him and Hanzai to kill. It was a symbol of loyalty. Yimo closed his eyes and didn't talk. After One-Eyed and Hanzai left, his spirit sense immediately scanned Xianxia. He was kicked and slapped by Yimo but was still in his room. But from how he kept calling, he was probably calling for backup. Yimo sneered. If Xianxia went away, then he would let it go. But if he was still going to piss him off, then he really can't be blamed. Xianxia was infuriated at this moment. Ever since he was young, he was the genius of his age. When had he got insulted like this in his life? Although Su Jingwen had never agreed to his pursuit, in his eyes, no one else could touch Su Jingwen. But now, not only was the woman of his dreams slept by another man, and he was slapped in front of her and even lost a few teeth. If he could swallow the insult, then he wouldn't be Xianxia. So he would have Yimo's guts for garters. As for Su Jingwen, she was no more than a slut, but he wouldn't let her go for daring to betray him. Yimo took back his spirit sense. He really didn't consider this Xianxia a threat. He was waiting for One-Eyed and Hanzai. If they couldn't finish the job he gave them, then not necessary to keep them alive. One-Eyed didn't stay out for very long. An hour later, he had come back to Yimo's room with Hanzai. However, he held in awe and veneration when he looked Yimo. Yimo knew that it was his fireball charm that shocked him. "Yi Qian Bei, the mission is done." Yimo nodded. "Not bad. Draw a map of your HQ for me." "Yes." One-Eyed sat down and took out pen and paper. Soon he drew a rough map. Yimo took the image and looked. It was indeed different to the one Qingqing gave him last time. It seemed that the Earth Fiend HQ wasn't at where the two drew, but these two places were two gathering spots. Seeing Yimo frown at the map, One-Eyed immediately said, "Yi Qian Bei, when our killers are out on a mission, they will report back the situation every day. If at night someone still didn't report back, then it meant that something had happened to that killer. If we depart for Hong Kong at this moment, that person would have been long gone by the time Qian Bei get there." Yimo smiled plainly. "I'm sure that when I arrive he won't be gone yet. You don't need to worry about it. Now I have another mission for you too. If you can do it well, then you don't need to call me Qian Bei, and you can go work for my company. If you can't, then I don't need to say anything else. Yes, Qian Bei, Yang Jiu and Hanzai will be able to finish the mission." One-Eyed heard Yimo's words and rejoiced. He was very smart. He knew that Yimo had some concerns for them too. Now that Yimo said this, it meant that if they did the mission well, they could be treated as Yimo's own men. Just by Yimo's power, he felt that it wouldn't be too bad working for Yimo, and he didn't need to worry about Goobug. "Okay." Yimo clapped. "In the room 206, there's a guy called Xianxia. He was attacking my friend, so I beat him up. I'm busy tonight, so I don't have time to play with him. You two can treat him. I guess this guy is calling people for help. If they do things over the top, you can kill them. I will take the responsibility. Yang Zhou immediately said out loud, Chen Bei, don't worry. Such a clown I can kill in the flip of the hand. He was worried that Emo looked down on his power because ever since Emo walked in, they didn't even have the ability to resist. If Emo looked down on their abilities, then he wouldn't give them two important tasks, so he needed to show himself and his true capabilities now. He needed to tell Emo that other than him, Emo, everyone was a piece of cake for an Earth-rank killer like him. Okay. Perhaps I will come back tomorrow. I will see what you do. That friend of mine is called Su Jingwen. She was originally the person you two were going to kill. Okay. I'm going. Then, Emo left the room and disappeared without a trace. Seeing Emo suddenly disappear, Yang Zhou wiped the sweat from his forehead and gasped. Emo gave him such a huge pressure. Especially that last sentence, he almost knelt down. Ninth uncle, this Yi Qianbei is too strong. I've never seen someone as strong as him and that fireball charm. It's just. Han Zai stuttered. Yang Zhou sunk into silence for a while before saying seriously, Han Zai, I've gone to many places and experienced countless dangers. I've seen some tough people, even some ancient martial artists. I've even killed a yellow-level martial artist myself, but I've never seen someone as strong as Emo. Ninth uncle. Han Zai looked hesitantly at Yang Zhou. Yang Zhou stopped him and continued, Han Zai, we can also take this as an opportunity. Yi Qianbei is definitely the strongest person I have seen. If he can really finish the Gu King, then we can sell our lives to him and don't plot anything. We will only get stronger if we follow the strongest. He thought of the fireball charm Emo gave him and still felt fearful. There were many strange things in this world, but he had never seen a piece of paper that could turn a living person into flying dust in an instant. This was too out of this world. Yang Zhou waved his hand and said, As for whether this is our fortune or hell, it all depends on this mission. Su Jingwen is the target we have to protect. You can see that Su Jingwen definitely isn't only an ordinary friend of Yi Qianbei. Perhaps she's Yi Qianbei's woman, so we must not fail this mission. Yes, ninth uncle, I will listen to you. Han Zai wasn't dumb. Dumb people wouldn't be able to enter Earth Fiend. He obviously knew how important this mission was. Yang Zhou nodded and said, If we succeed this time, we can follow Emo Qianbei, but if we fail, then death is the only thing that awaits us. So, even if we die, we can't let this mission fail. Ninth uncle, I think we might as well go in and do this to that Xia guy. Then Han Zai made a cutting pose with his hand. Yang Zhou sneered. Can we go kill people in the open now? As soon as we kill that Xia guy, we will be hunted by the police. And if we are hunted by the police, how can we take care of Su Jingwen once that Xia guy's people attack her? Our main goal is to protect Su Jingwen, not kill this Xia Weijing. Plus, even if we are going to kill him, we must not let anyone know. Emo found Su Jingwen sitting in a coffee shop dazing. He didn't know about Su Jingwen's feelings towards Xia Weijing, so he didn't go interrupt her. In Emo's heart, Su Jingwen had always been his friend, a knowing friend. He didn't think too much. As to what Su Jingwen said at the doorway, he treated it as anger words. But he felt that Su Jingwen had no feelings for that Xia guy at all. Su Jingwen wasn't as easy to talk to as she seemed. She had this stubbornness in her heart. If she had determined something, then no matter how you persuaded her, she would follow her own opinion. She was very strong-minded while that Xia guy was too subjective. It was very hard for Su Jingwen to like such a guy. Emo walked by Su Jingwen's car and opened her car door. He put a few fireball charms on her seat before leaving quietly. Although he believed Yang Zhou's words, he couldn't believe anything completely. He still left Su Jingwen with some self-protection measures. If Su Jingwen was hurt due to him, he wouldn't be able to forgive himself. Su Jingwen sighed and walked out of the coffee shop. She didn't know why she said such words. It wasn't because of his cousin, but he was afraid Emo would look down on her for saying such stuff. And would Emo misunderstand due to her cousin's words? But she couldn't go up to Emo and explain such things. This made her very troubled. Although her cousin's attitude and vicious words hurt her a lot, that wasn't the main thing now. She didn't even care about it at all now because she had completely seen what sort of person her cousin was. Before she felt apologetic for rejecting her cousin, but now she didn't feel that at all. She still couldn't believe that the person she met today was the cousin who was usually very gentlemanlike. Su Jingwen opened the car door and felt lost. At this moment, she suddenly really wanted to go look for Yemo but didn't have the courage. Su Jingwen looked at the 5 fireball charms on her seat in shock and suddenly felt warm. Yemo came but saw that she was absent-minded in the coffee shop and didn't go in. But he still cared about her and left 5 charms fearing that her cousin would do bad things to her. Although she knew that her cousin wouldn't do something over the top, Su Jingwen still grabbed the fireball charms tightly. She was very grateful for Yemo. Yemo stood on the flying sword and flew to Hong Kong like a speeding comet. Earth Fiend was too nefarious of an organization, killed so easily. A minute that this organization existed, Yemo felt uncomfortable for a minute. Yemo felt a little tired flying to Hong Kong because this distance was a little far. His cultivation level was still a little low. Yemo found a place where no one was and landed. He was prepared to rest a little bit before releasing the goo bug and following it to the Goo King. Just when the sky got dark, Yemo's cultivation essence recovered. He took out that yellow goo bug and threw it out. That goo turned into a yellow ray and disappeared. Yemo followed it with the speed as fast as the goo. However, a few minutes later, the yellow bug flew into a mansion in a vast expanse of land. Yemo scanned his spirit sense in and immediately followed. The goo fell into a blue-clothed man's hands. The man looked like he was in his 40s, but his face was very bleak and had no emotions. However, his power seemed to be not much lower than Tanjiao. It surpassed Earth-level tertiary stage and was Earth stage peak. There was such a master hidden in the cities and cultivated for such a short time. Yemo was sure that the man had cultivated no more than 30 years. He could reach this state in 30 years. It could be seen that this person was not only talented but his cultivation method must be extraordinary too. Yemo knew how hard it was to cultivate ancient martial arts. He had seen many cultivation methods for ancient martial arts and their ways of opening meridians were very trash. It was complete trash compared to spirit chi cultivation methods. Even if Yemo cultivated ancient martial arts himself, he would need 5 to 6 decades to reach Earth level, and during these years, he would need medicinal herbs to support it. The blue-clothed man was in his 40s but was already halfway to Great Heaven state. It could be seen that his cultivation method was overpowered. Who knew how many essence blood bugs this guy had devoured to reach this stage? The man held the yellow goo bug Yemo released as his face turned blue. He really didn't expect that the host of this bug was killed twice in such a short time. Who is it? You dare to kill the host of my bug? If I don't turn you to dust, then I would have wasted this 30 years of cultivation. Sha 3. Come over. The blue-clothed man said in anger and couldn't control his fury as he slapped the table in front of him to pieces. A black-clothed man dashed from the side and walked in front of the man. He knelt down with one knee and said, Goo King, Sha 3 awaits your command. The man's hideous face relaxed a little and said with a cold tone, I planted this goo bug a few days ago on someone called Han Zai. Since the goo bug is here, it means that Han Zai is dead. I ordered Han Zai to kill Yemo's family. Since Han Zai is dead, this means that his death is related to Yemo. Immediately notify Sha 1 to ask Yangzhou about the situation. Then, tell him to assemble all the killers he can. Do not leave a single person behind in the Beijing Yi family. Kill everyone Yemo knows. Yes, Sha 3 replied. The blue-clothed man sneered and looked at the goo bug in his hand. I, Ren Sha, will show you the consequence of offending me and killing the host of my goo. Wait, the blue-clothed man called out and said, after finishing the Yi family, bring those few women Yemo knows to Chunin. I will go there personally to humiliate them. Then the man's veins bulged on his head. Ever since he made his debut, no one dared to mess with him. Only he could go kill people who dared to kill his men. But today, several of his men were killed by a young man in his 20s. He wouldn't tolerate such a thing. Sha-3 just reached the door and was kicked back by a huge foot retreating tens of meters as he smashed into the blue-clothed man. He spat out more than 10 mouthfuls of blood and just died like that. A goo flew out and landed on the blue-clothed man's hand. The blue-clothed man's iris quickly retracted. One kick and his personal guard Sha-3 was dead. This man was definitely a dreadful being. He looked up and saw Yemo, who walked in through the door slowly. His face was calm as though he didn't kick that foot, and Sha-3 fell over himself. "Who are you?" Although everyone who went to kill Yemo knew what Yemo looked like, this blue-clothed man had never seen Yemo's picture. He didn't know Yemo, and from the bottom of his heart, he didn't want to lower himself to know Yemo. Although he didn't know Yemo, from how Yemo kicked Sha-3 to death in one kick, he knew that this youth would definitely be able to threaten him. Although the youth wasn't as strong as him, he shouldn't be far from him. He didn't want to start a conflict with such a person. There was no benefit for him. Thinking about this, the blue-clothed man said, "I have no feud with you. Why did you start trouble at my place and kill my disciple? Am I supposed to be scared of you?" Yemo sneered. "Who am I? No feud? I'm the Yemo whom you were about to kill everyone related to. Tell me if we have feud. You are Yemo?" The blue-clothed man's face changed. It went from bleak to astonishment. He knew that Yemo's power wasn't bad and had a few killing blows but was at most black-level power, so he didn't care at all. As for Yemo killing many people of the He Lu sect, the news hadn't reached him yet. But when he saw Yemo today, he realized that he couldn't even tell how strong Yemo was. Only his trusted loyals knew this place. No one knew that he lived here. How did Yemo find him? Thinking about this, Rensha's heart sunk. He killed through any means necessary and was very vengeful and often killed many innocent people. However, he had his own standards, and that was the people who he killed had to have no threat to him. If they did, then he would resist it and try to avoid conflict until he had the power to take them out from the roots. But there were too little people in this world who could threaten him, and just listening to Yemo's age, he would know that Yemo definitely had no threat to him. But when he saw Yemo, he realized that he had made a big mistake. Yemo was not only a threat to him but a being no lesser than him. He didn't want to mess with such a person. If he knew that Yemo was this strong earlier, he wouldn't intervene with Yemo's matter, much less kill everyone near him. Rensha's sixth sense was very strong. Although he didn't think Yemo was a match for him, he didn't want to take risks. If he had another 3 years, he could reach Great Heaven stage. By then, Yemo would be an insect in his eyes. Then, another 2 men rushed in. Their appearances were similar to the Sha-3 Yemo just killed. The 2 men walked up to Rensha and knelt down saying, "Gu King, we just received news that Lu Min died in Ninghai, and Yang Jiao and Han Zai are nowhere to be seen. You killed everyone I had in Ninghai? You were just in Chun En in the morning. How can you go to Ninghai to kill people? And then how can you appear here?" Rensha's eyes turned fierce. He had seen Yemo's means and he didn't want to continue this with Yemo. But Yemo was the person who kept killing the hosts of his goobugs. This made him infuriated. He had already forgotten what his killers went to do at Ninghai. Yemo sneered and raised his hands. 2 wind blades and the 2 men who knelt down on the ground were also killed by Yemo. 2 goobugs flew out, quickly landing in Rensha's hands. "You!" Rensha could no longer hold in the anger and raised his hands. More than 10 different colored rays charged at Yemo. Rensha wanted to use goobugs to attack him. Yemo sneered and shot out a chi swirl. All the goobugs were trapped by the chi swirl. Before they could come out, they were burnt to crisp by Yemo's fireball. A putrid smell came and they turned to flying dust falling everywhere. Rensha looked at the ground filled by dust in shock. He was dumbfounded. There were indeed people who could counter his goo, but not this easily. It had been less than 3 minutes and they were all gone. In that instant, Rensha knew that the distance between him and Yemo was way too great, to the extent that he couldn't even stand a blow. Yemo was a great heaven master. No matter how much he didn't want to admit it, he was sure Yemo was a great heaven master. If he wasn't, he wouldn't be able to kill his goo so simply and easily. "I'm not a match for you." All the goobugs were killed by Yemo. Blood seeped out of the corner of Rensha's mouth. Although these goo bugs lived off other people's life essence, they were still cultivated by him. His spirit was affected when so many of them were killed. Emo walked up a few steps slowly and said, "Of course you're not a match for me. I don't need you to remind me. Before I die, can you tell me how you found me?" Rensha's eyes showed desperation. Emo knew that Rensha couldn't just give up like this, but Emo wasn't afraid of anything Rensha had planned. In his eyes, this Rensha was at most the same as Tanjiao. If this man didn't have the goo bugs, even Tanjiao could instant kill this man. "Your yellow goo. I captured it and I let it go. Of course it can bring me here," Emo said plainly. Then he raised his hand and let out a wind blade. Rensha looked dumbly as Emo chopped off one of his arm without a sound. He didn't even feel any pain. He couldn't understand how someone could follow the goo bug. What speed would that be? But the moment his arm was chopped off, he reacted. He raised his hand and shot out a black ray. Then he retreated a few meters back and rammed into the wall. This wall actually fell apart. After Rensha rammed into the wall, he disappeared in that extremely short time. Emo didn't have time to check where Rensha went because in that instant he felt danger. That black ray exploded with the chi of destruction in front of Emo. Emo stood on the flying sword and rose to the sky without any hesitation. Rumble, almost at the same time there was a loud explosion. That grandiloquent mansion turned into rubble. Emo stood in mid-air looking at the rubble. He was shocked by this explosion. He didn't expect the Goo King to still have such a card. If he was just a bit slower, even if he wasn't blown to pieces, he would be heavily injured. Such a lethal mean. Emo looked at the smoking mansion. No one inside could survive. This wasn't ancient martial arts mean nor cultivation mean. That black ray was definitely technological. Emo was sure that even chi-gathering tertiary stage cultivator wouldn't be able to take that explosion easy. This thing was much stronger than a grenade. There was the sound of the firefighters. Emo's face sunk. He knew that since this Goo King used such means, it meant that he didn't die at all. If he had to die, he didn't need to ram into the wall. If his sword didn't slice off one hand of his, perhaps Rensha would have escaped without any damage. The reason that Emo didn't kill him immediately was that he wanted to pull the entire organization from its roots. He didn't want to just kill the Goo King. Since he came, he needed to kill them all. He just didn't expect the Goo King to still have such traps. Nevertheless, Emo wouldn't be scared. He scanned out his spirit sense. Moments later, Emo found a deep trench behind that wall. This trench was very deep and was well designed. Emo estimated that it was about 100 meters deep. The mechanism was designed like this. Once the wall was rammed, the trench would appear. Once someone dropped down, a net would catch the person and release him to the bottom. Then there would be a transport tool at the bottom. Although Emo hadn't seen this tool, he was sure it must have been taken by the Goo King. Knowing Goo King's escape route, Emo didn't go down there however. He was thinking of a way in mid-air. He couldn't just go into the tunnel like that. This place was excavated by the Goo King. If he planted a few more of those bombs like that, he would be heavily injured even if he managed to survive. Thinking about this, just when Emo wanted to leave, the fire brigade was here. Rumble. There was another loud bang and not far from here. There was a huge explosion rupturing from the bottom of the ground, shaking over a nearby building. So vicious. Emo looked at the explosion not far coldly. He wanted to kill this Goo King more desperately. If he followed up just then, he wouldn't be able to escape that explosion no matter what. Could be seen that this Goo King was really calculated. He could dig such a long tunnel underground. From this, it could be seen that not only was his wealth astonishing, but he was also deeply connected. Normally, who dared to dig such an underground tunnel in this busy city other than the government? But since this was exposed, perhaps another bunch of corrupt people would be pulled out. Emo didn't care about this. He went invisible and took out another goo bug. He marked with spirit sense and let it out. Then, he followed up, dozens of kilometers from the exploded mansion. In a private manner, Rensha appeared from an underground elevator with a pale face. At this moment, he had lost an arm but felt lucky to be alive. The setup he had made many years ago finally came to use. If he didn't have an underground escape route, he would have been killed by Emo now. Emo, if I don't kill you, I swear I'm not a human, Rensha said with full of killing intent. He didn't expect Emo to be this scary. He couldn't resist at all under his hands. Although he had many means that he hadn't used, he didn't think he could beat Emo. He didn't even think that last blast could kill Emo. If Emo died that easily, then he wouldn't be so hard to deal with. But it was best if he was killed by that blast. Even if it didn't, Rensha estimated that Emo would be injured at least. No matter how Emo was, he wasn't going to let him go. After his hand recovered, he would teach Emo a lesson that he would never forget. However, in the depth of his heart, he still hoped that Emo followed him into the underground tunnel and was killed in the explosion. Gu King. Another man walked over and knelt down on one knee. His facial expression was very reverent. As for his broken arm, it was as though he didn't see it. Immediately prepare a helicopter. I need to leave here, Rensha said coldly. Yes, this man replied and quickly left. In a short while, there was the sound of a helicopter in the field. Emo followed the Gubug, running around for a while before eventually coming to a private manor. Just when he came in, he saw a helicopter rise up. Emo packed away the goo and followed the helicopter with his flying sword. The helicopter landed on an island in the southern sea. This island belonged to Rensha. It was his place for cultivation and holiday. Now it was for refuge. Rensha walked off the helicopter. His broken arm had stopped bleeding, the medicine he used were all top grade. It's just that he was injured the most this time. This made him very angry. No matter if Emo was killed, he wasn't going to give up his plan of massacre. Emo, I swear here today that if I don't kill everyone around you, Rensha didn't finish and was interrupted by a voice. What do you plan to do? Emo's cold voice sounded by Rensha's ear. Rensha turned around and looked at Emo, who suddenly appeared as though he was a ghost. He was completely frozen. Regardless of whether Emo knew about this private island of his, even if he did, how could he come here this rapidly? He took a helicopter, could he fly or something? Are you human or ghost? Emo's sudden appearance exceeded Rensha's understanding. He couldn't imagine a live person teleporting from Hong Kong to this island. Emo sneered. Weren't you just making an oath to kill me? What, you're scared now that I'm here? I'm here for you to exact revenge. Rensha's heart sunk into the bottom. He knew that Emo was really here. His power exceeded his comprehension. Although he didn't know how Emo came here, he knew that he had no chance now. How can you let me live? Whatever you say, I can do it. I'm willing to be your animal. Rensha understood the situation and knelt down without hesitation. Usually, it was always other people kneeling down to him, but now, this was the first time that he knelt down to someone else to live. He was willing to do anything to live. He looked down and was desperate. He saw that behind Emo's back, his henchman had taken out an assault rifle from the helicopter and was about to shoot at Emo's back. At this moment, Rensha's heart was beating rapidly, but he didn't dare to expose his thoughts. He just wanted his men to open fire quickly. Emo didn't even look and just threw out a fireball. Rumble, the helicopter, and the man aiming at him all erupted into flames rushing into the air. Rensha saw the explosion a few meters away. The searing heat had burnt his hair, but his heart became cold again. Emo didn't seem to see the helicopter burning not far away. He wasn't affected at all and just looked at Rensha plainly and said, I would never let out a mad dog to bite again. If you don't die, I can't rest easy. To me, you're just an ant. Looking at Rensha, who still knelt on the ground, Emo smiled. If you tell me how to pull your organization from its roots, perhaps I will give you a quick death. I'll fight to the death with you. Rensha suddenly rushed up, pulling a soft axe from his waist and hacked towards Emo's lower dantian. Emo had seen soft whips and swords, but this was the first time seeing a soft axe. But Rensha had lost an arm. No matter how quick he was, he wouldn't be able to reach Emo. Emo waved his hand, and the other arm of Rensha fell to the ground. The axe was kicked back by Emo, and it happened to ram into Rensha's leg and slicing it off like tofu. Emo took a step forward and slapped on Rensha's head, yelling coldly, Tell me, I want to kill all of Earth Fiend. What method do you have? Ren Sha showed struggle in his eyes, but it was just a moment before he was lost and murmured, I have a goo king. If something happens to my goo king, all the goo bugs under me will attack their hosts and fly back. It was actually that simple? Emo once again saw the struggle in Ren Sha's eyes and was amazed at his power. He quickly asked, Are you the leader of the Earth Fiend organization? No, Earth Fiend was created by Sha One. After I came, I planted a goo in him, making him serve me. Ren Sha replied very quickly this time. Emo didn't expect that this internationally renowned Earth Fiend was actually a puppet organization. In that case, he didn't have any reasons to hesitate. Emo took out a dark green ball from Ren Sha. There was a goo bug lying there. The essence, blood, and life force on this goo bug was much stronger than those other ones Emo destroyed. Ren Sha had also completely woken up. He saw Emo hold the goo king and his face rapidly changed. He knew that he had no way out now and his heart was full of resent. It had never occurred to him that someone he thought he could kill easily eventually killed him without even leaving him a chance to escape. The unwillingness in his eyes was deep. Emo suddenly thought of the He Lu sect incident and asked, Did you notify the hidden sects that I got the blood coral? How did you notify them? As if knowing that he would still die anyways. Ren Sha stopped saying anything but was secretly trying to shatter his aorta. Emo scanned his spirit sense and immediately knew what Ren Sha was trying to do. He tried to save his soul by committing suicide. Emo didn't give it second thought before throwing out a fireball that surrounded Ren Sha. Ren Sha was stunned. He had already considered Emo to be the most dangerous person but didn't expect that he could tell that he tried to protect his soul. Was Emo even human? I won't let you go even if I'm a ghost. This was the last howl from the fire. Emo said coldly, You won't have the chance to be a ghost, but now you won't die yet. You can stay in that fire for a while. Finally, Ren Sha's eyes showed that all hope was lost. If he had another chance, he would rather offend the entire hidden sects than Emo. His eyes gradually became dead. Emo looked at the goo king in his hand. If he was just going to kill it like that, he felt it was a waste. He knew that although this goo king was very low caliber in the cultivation realm, it was quite strong on Earth. Although he felt it was a waste, Emo still enveloped the goo king in a fireball. He knew that even if he kept it, he couldn't keep it alive. He had no clue as to how to keep goo. The goo king struggled in the dark green ball, but in the fire, its struggle was a waste. Half a minute later, it finally stopped struggling and was turned to ash with that dark green ball. At the same time, in dozens of places on Earth, those Earth Fiend killers were all attacked by the goo bugs. In a very short time, they turned into bloodless bodies and the goo bugs disappeared into the skies. Emo sat on the small island. Goo bugs kept flying back. Emo knew this was because Ren Sha hadn't died yet. When it was daybreak, Emo had burnt all the goo bugs. Looking at Ren Sha, who was on his last breath, he threw over another fireball and this Ren Sha completely disappeared from the world. But when the goo bugs attacked the hosts, in an underground chamber in a temple in Hong Kong, a pale-faced man sat on the ground using his power to resist the devourer of the goo. He was the original head of the Earth Fiend, Sha One. Different to other people, he knew from the beginning that he was turned into a tool for cultivation for the goo king. When the time was right, he would be consumed. But knowing was one thing and avoiding it was another. He knew that if the goo king didn't need him to serve, he would have been long gone. The moment that the goo king's mansion was destroyed, he knew his chance had come. The goo king always killed people and now, he finally met his end. Sha One was waiting for this opportunity. The moment the mansion was destroyed, he brought his 2 men to the underground basement. Although Sha One was controlled by the goo bug, he used his connections and had much better information than Ren Sha. Ren Sha was very vengeful, ever since he came to the Earth Fiend. This organization was completely different from before. It had turned into a retribution machine. So, Sha One thought of all the ways he could to help the Earth Fiend find strong enemies, and this time they messed with Emo. Emo was too young and he didn't look well on Emo, but after investigating Emo, he became hopeful of Emo. He hid Emo's true capabilities from Ren Sha, just so Ren Sha could annoy Emo. As expected, things developed as planned. Even Sha-1 didn't expect Emo to act so fast. Emo was in Chun and in the morning and at night, he had come to Hong Kong. Sha-1 brought 2 men into the underground basement. He knew that Rensha had an underground escape route. Even he didn't know how to get in. Just when he thought Emo couldn't kill Rensha, the 2 men and him starting experiencing attacks by the goo bugs. This made Sha-1 very surprised and joyful. He knew that only when the Goo King was killed would such thing occur. So when the Goo started the attack, Sha-1 also started his resistance. For the past decade, he had been constantly thinking of ways to resist the Goo devouring. Finally, he thought of a way. Mutilation. He forced the Goo into one arm and cut off that arm. Then, he quickly went into the metal room and closed the door. After eating the blood essence of that arm, the Goo couldn't find Sha-1 and flew off with the other Goo bugs. Although Sha-1 lost an arm, he forced out the Goo bug and was very happy. He didn't dare to stay in the underground basement and quickly fled. The instant Su Jingwen packed away the charms, she remembered what happened when she came. She was too angered by her cousin. That's why she left. She thought about what happened with Emo and her cousin and just remembered Emo saying something about someone trying to assassinate her. Since those people were going to assassinate her, it meant that they wouldn't let Emo go either. Then what would happen to Emo? But in the turn of an eye, Su Jingwen realized that she was too hysterical. If something was going to happen to Emo, how could he come here and give her the fireball charms? Knowing Emo's power, since he knew that there was someone trying to assassinate him, he would have a way to deal with it. Although she thought of this, Su Jingwen still felt a little guilty. She left before due to anger and didn't even care about Emo's situation. She wondered if Emo would come back. Su Jingwen sat in the car and waited for a long time but still didn't see Emo. She started up the car disappointedly. At this moment, her mood was a little bad. It was because the cousin who had grown up with her become so rude, turning into someone she didn't even recognize. Was that still the cousin who helped her no matter what? She just couldn't put aside the words her cousin said today. Su Jingwen shook her head and tried to cast these things aside. She knew that no matter how Emo handled the assassins, it wasn't suitable for her to stay outside. Thinking about this, Su Jingwen didn't hesitate to drive home. When Su Jingwen got home, she saw her cousin talk with her mother in the living room. Her face immediately changed. Seeing Su Jingwen come back, her mother Muin smiled and said, "Sha-1, your cousin has been waiting for you a long time. He says he has business with you." Su Jingwen rubbed her forehead and said plainly, "Mom, I don't feel right today. I'm going to rest." Then, she didn't even look at Xiaowazian and just turned to leave. Muin looked strangely at her daughter. Although her daughter had always not really liked Xiaowazian, she had never behaved like this today. Although Muin wanted Su Jingwen and Xiaowazian to be together, she still respected her daughter's thoughts. "Jingwen, it's my fault today. I came to apologize. Please forgive me. I'm sorry." Xiaowazian saw this and stood up apologizing. His tone was very genuine and serious. Sha-1. Muin subconsciously thought it was her daughter being a little too grumpy. Even if Xiaowazian did something wrong, he came up here to apologize. What else can't they sort out? Su Jingwen looked coldly at Xiaowazian. "You pointed at me calling me a shameless woman. Why are you apologizing to me? Leave. I don't have you as a kin anymore. You don't need to say anything else, Xiaowazian. Go." Muin heard Su Jingwen's words and her face also sunk. No matter what happened between the two, what right did Xiaowazian have to call her daughter shameless?